If you've ever discovered free plugins for Grok Build, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. Boy, oh boy, did we make it past the big event of the week. NVDA earnings are here. That is higher. The godfather of AI has spoken. Also, CrowdStrike, CRM, Okta, big earnings reports. Lot going on here today. We're going to cover it all. It is Thursday. We're going to have a good one. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here today. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Thursday edition for August 27th, 2026, starts right now. Good morning and welcome back, everybody. I hope that you all had a wonderful Wednesday evening and a close to Wednesday's trading day. We're back for another one here today, and it should be interesting, question mark. Michael Burry bought calls to hedge his NVIDIA short. Good thing he did, because NVIDIA is trading up over the 5.5% that was estimated by the options, and some other stuff is trading up with it as well. NBIS was flying yesterday. Of course, CRM and CrowdStrike reported earnings. We're going to cover all of that. But first, we're going to welcome back our wonderful audience. Pot G is first here today. Good afternoon, Ryan and the Benzi gang. Pot G from Belgium checking in first here today. Early bird gets the worm. Derek, good morning. Welcome back. Peter, good morning. Welcome back. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Alan, it's great to see you. Welcome back. Good morning, brother. What do you have on deck today, out of curiosity? Francis and Crispy Biscuit, good morning. Zach McCracken, good morning. Kelly, good morning. Jay Wild, good morning. Richard Judge, good morning. Richard goes on to say, I think I have to give up eating Wendy's now. I can't be supporting a company that's already eating my money twice, once at the drive-thru and again in my portfolio. Oh, Judge, I'm so glad you have a sense of humor about things. We had some news this morning that Nelson Peltz's Trian Fund is not interested in taking Wendy's private, at least right now. Wendy's stock ticker WEN selling off on that news. Sorry about that, Judge. That chart on the daily chart looked really good too. It's an unfortunate move down. But we'll see. We'll see if it holds or if it really kind of comes back in. Jim, good morning. Welcome back. Dirkus, good morning. Welcome back. Producer, can't do this without you. Appreciate you. Welcome back. EKS, good morning. Welcome back. Also highlighting the Wendy's plunge. Brett, it's always great to see you. Welcome back. Welcome back. Robot to Trade, welcome back. Wiss, welcome back. Chuck, welcome back. Carmen, welcome back. Hello, all. Good tech day. Also solar. Last day before Warsh's speech. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not even sure what to expect from Warsh's speech, but I am very, very curious to see how tech and the AI trade here today on the back of those NVIDIA earnings. Should be a good tech day. Stranger things have happened before, however. Knights Lance, good morning and welcome back. It's always great to see you here. Jeff, good morning and welcome back. Tyler, good morning. Welcome back. JJ, good morning. Great day, gray day outside here on the East Coast. You'll be watching some of the float gappers, Rubrik and Nutanix, BWXT, Peng, Flex. Okay, but we got a good watch list right there. Good watch list right there. We do have some football tonight, Tyler. Your Bills are playing the Steelers. I think there's actually like 4 games, and 2 of them are going to be televised on the NFL Network, so there should be a good amount of football tonight. Linda, good morning. Welcome back. Dara, it's always great to see you. Welcome back. Just passing through. Good morning and welcome back. Jay Wild says, Ryan must be getting attacked by his cat. I'm good here today. No attacks. The cat is something else. She gets into all types of things that I have to go correct. I have a cage in here that it doesn't have a bird in it, but she thinks it does. And she continues to go after it. And so I have to keep it covered so I can do the show without too many distractions. But it's okay. It's totally worth it. Castle, good morning. Welcome back. Richard, good morning. Welcome back. HP Darkside Hemi, good morning and welcome back. Matthew, good morning. Welcome back. Captain Cloudy, it's always great to see you. Welcome back. Duty, welcome back. Samaritane, checking in from England. Good afternoon to you and good morning to everybody else. The Goods, good morning and welcome back. Mitch, good morning and welcome back. Nikhil, good morning. Welcome back. Alvin, good morning. Welcome back. Alan says, my next move is to wait for AMD to fall somewhere between 230 and 250, and then I'm going to go all in. Well, let's see if you get that. AMD, we were talking yesterday about AMD having some pretty lofty price targets, 800, maybe even 1,000. Absolutely crazy. We'll see if we get a pullback on there. Maybe if the market corrects or if we get like a midterm pullback or something like that, maybe you'll get that spot. Joe Marsh, good morning and welcome back. Happy NVIDIA Day indeed. Christopher, good morning and welcome back. Worth Legacy, good morning and welcome back. Triniarch, good morning from Trinidad and Tobago. Our global show continues to span the globe. I love it. Rick, good morning. Welcome back. Azrar and Barb, good morning and welcome back. Matthew, good morning and welcome back. Lassie, I'm sorry, I still don't know how to properly pronounce your name, and I feel like I'm butchering it every time. I'm going to go with Lace. You'll have to give me some phonetics there. I'm not sure, but good morning. It's great to have you back here. And can we check Synopsys, please, Tyler? Yes, Synopsys also reported earnings, sold off, but actually, when I looked at it this morning, I did add that to the bots list to trade here. When I looked at that this morning, it got back the entire move down from the earnings. So yeah, Tyler, we'll go ahead and check that one out. Liam, good morning. Master Chief, good morning. Lace, close enough. Okay, that must mean that you're not offended. That's my big fear. I really don't want to offend anybody by pronouncing their name wrong. So appreciate that. Appreciate your flexibility. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, we got a mixed bag here ahead of Thursday's open on the back of the NVIDIA earnings. We have S&P futures up by 0.41%. We have the Dow futures actually down by 0.02%, although that is basically at unchanged. So we're going to be real close to a potential red-green move if that trades up at all here in the pre-market or past the open. The NASDAQ is leading the way higher. That's higher by 0.92%. Now, this is off the overnight and morning high. So there is still some range to the upside here. Again, a lot of stuff going on with NVIDIA's earnings, CrowdStrike earnings, CRM earnings, Okta earnings, all of those stocks trading higher, and that is bringing the NASDAQ with it. So we'll see how that holds into the open and then how it trades here today. But so far, we got green arrows there with the exception of the Dow, and it is barely red to begin with. Also worth checking in, crude is up slightly here today, up 0.3%, plus 0.34%. We're back in an 82 handle. That briefly dipped into a 70 handle yesterday. We'll see if oil rebounds here today or if it maybe retests some of those lows. Now, let's take a look at some cues from last session as well as what we have on deck for you today. We also have stocks in focus for you, as we always do. Healthcare, communication services, and consumer discretionary stocks recorded the biggest losses on Wednesday as most S&P 500 sectors closed lower, though industrials and utilities bucked the market trend to finish higher. U.S. stock futures were mixed on Thursday as the Dow slipped a bit while the S&P and the NASDAQ indices rose following Wednesday's lower close. Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Al-Rahman Al Thani is traveling to Tehran on Thursday to spearhead mediation efforts aimed at reviving negotiations. While the pause in fighting has held for nearly a month, no diplomatic breakthroughs have been reached. The U.S. reimposed a naval blockade against Iranian ports last month and enacted fresh economic sanctions following the alleged violations in the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.66%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.22%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show markets pricing a 36.1% likelihood of the Federal Reserve hiking the current interest rates during its September meeting. Now, I've got several stocks in focus here for you today. The first one, you guessed it, that's going to be NVIDIA. Ticker NVDA jumped 7.32% higher in the pre-market on Thursday after reporting better than expected second quarter earnings results and issuing strong revenue forecast for the third quarter. Also, that conference call was a whopper, and that is sending the stock higher here. The next stock on our list is going to be Salesforce. The ticker is CRM, and it gained 11.25% after beating top and bottom lines and posting its strongest net new annual order value, or AOV, growth in 4 years, while attrition remained near record lows. The next stock on our list is going to be CrowdStrike, and I'm glad these are both on the list because I get these tickers mixed up all the time. It's just a personal flaw. CrowdStrike Holdings, ticker CRWD, advanced by 8.36% after its second quarter revenue of $1.47 billion beat the analyst estimates of $1.44 billion, and adjusted earnings of 31 cents per share beat the estimates of 29 cents per share. The next stock on our list is going to be HP Inc., and the ticker on this one is HPQ. It dropped 8.81% despite posting upbeat results for the third quarter and raising its fiscal year 2026 earnings forecast. The last stock on our list is one that is going to report tonight. It is going to be Ulta, ticker ULTA, and it was marginally higher as Wall Street expects it to post quarterly earnings of $6.18 per share on revenue of $2.95 billion. That takes place after the closing bell today, along with Marvell. Okay, let's take a look at the SPY chart. Let's figure out where we're sitting here and where we might go. Now, we have been talking the last several sessions. Really, it's almost felt like there's very little to no change at all. We've really just been kind of trading sideways. And if you look at the SPY chart here, it is basically riding the purple line that I have on the screen. I'm a little bit zoomed in for it now. Let me see if I can zoom out a bit. We're basically riding the 20-day moving average. And I understand we've closed beneath it a little bit. We've closed above it a little bit. For all intents and purposes, we're basically riding that moving average, and we're using that as a guide. Now, today, on the back of some of these really powerful earnings, we do have some green arrows here. We'll see if this can actually continue to curl back up and maybe make its way towards the previous breakout area of 776.85. Remember, we do have a new all-time high that was set on August 13th that valued 779.37, but let's first see if 776.85 can get cleared out or if we have some more strength here today. I mean, we're currently sitting at 769.40 here in the pre-market, so a move back up to that breakout level would be a pretty strong one. We'll see if we get that kind of follow through here today. Also, we'll really quickly check in on the Qs as we've been doing here recently. As a reminder, the Qs slightly different situation. We have this trend line that's not an all-time high breakout. It connects some of the recent highs, but it's a slight downtrend there. We are trading above the 20-day moving average on the Qs chart as well. So to me, this is absolutely going to be a key level today, especially with all the reports. I have that value at roughly 726. So that's 8 points higher than where we're currently sitting now. We'll see if that provides resistance or if we're able to have kind of a big punch through that area here today. Now, let's take a look at some insights from analysts and see what they have for you. Today's comes from BlackRock. BlackRock foresees an unconventional landscape for the U.S. stock market and broader economy, and it's driven by structural shifts rather than a typical business cycle. Despite rising long-term government bond yields, corporate profit forecasts continue to climb. The BlackRock Investment Institute notes that these dual signals reflect a, quote, structurally higher cost of capital, end quote, that calls for a fresh approach to portfolio design. Rather than anticipating a classic downturn, BlackRock remains overweight on U.S. equities. They project U.S. corporate earnings to expand by 11.6% annually over the next 5 years. That's a growth trajectory matched in, quote, only about 15% of historical 5-year periods, end quote. Now, this optimistic outlook relies heavily on technological adoption. And as BlackRock highlights, this projection is, quote, conditional on AI adoption, boosting productivity and profit margins, end quote. Economically, intense capital competition among governments and tech hyperscalers is keeping upward pressure on long-term yields. BlackRock emphasizes that, quote, long-standing macro anchor investors have come to rely upon, such as stable inflation expectations, have become less reliable, end quote. And this requires investors to focus on underlying risk drivers over simple asset labels. So what do you think? BlackRock's really bullish there. They are thinking earnings growth for multiple years. That sure doesn't seem like a market crash baked into that at all. A correction? Sure. Crash? BlackRock does not seem to think so. Now, taking a look here at NVIDIA, let's roll through this. I got a couple of NVIDIA stores here. One's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but actually can still make you some money if you're savvy. For you internet sleuths that are out there, you can kind of figure something out. We might have something here for you. We'll get to that here in just a sec. We're going to start with this, though. NVIDIA is still the AI bellwether, and it turns out that rivals here, despite what they might say, aren't even really particularly close when it comes to AI. NVIDIA Corporation, ticker NVDA, their stock is trading up more than 7% in Thursday's pre-market session as investors react to the company's quarterly results and upbeat commentary on AI demand. The move follows a double beat and management's message that the AI infrastructure build-out is at full steam. The big tech giant reported second quarter revenue of $96.22 billion. That was versus a $92.18 billion expected, and adjusted EPS of $2.22 versus a $2.10 expectation. They had gross margin at 75%, and CEO Jensen Huang said, quote, "Demand is accelerating," end quote, and he pointed to Vera Rubin ramping into full production with partners. NVIDIA also guided third quarter revenue to a range of $105.84 billion to $110.16 billion. And it said that it ended the quarter with $99 billion remaining under its share repurchase authorization. Jensen, by the way, also went on to say that because of his belief in AI and how much better this is all going to get, he actually views this as an attractive purchase for NVIDIA. So, I mean, we'll see if what he says actually pans out, but it sure seems like he's keen on buying the stock back at these levels. The company remains central to the AI investment story, but experts differ on how much upside investors should expect as growth expectations rise, competition expands, and markets demand clear returns from the massive AI spend that we see quarter to quarter. More Insights and Strategy CEO Chief Analyst Patrick Moorhead told CNBC that NVIDIA still serves as the bellwether for AI because far more software companies use its GPUs than competing platforms. Dan Ives also reiterated that Jensen is the godfather of AI. He noted that NVIDIA delivered a four-way beat and 126% revenue growth, but the company failed to reach some buy-side whisper expectations. Investors have also become accustomed to unusually large beats, making strong results less likely to generate the same stock reaction as before. Moorhead expects large hyperscalers and major AI model developers to create their own chips, but he believes rapidly expanding AI demand makes it difficult for rivals to take enough share to materially disrupt NVIDIA in the near term. He also highlighted NVIDIA's ability to secure high bandwidth memory ahead of competitors, while pointing to robotics and industrial Internet of Things as longer-term AI growth opportunities. Freedom Capital Markets head of technology research Paul Meeks, friend of Benzinga, told CNBC that he remains very bullish on NVIDIA and the broader AI ecosystem. He does not expect a meaningful slowdown until 2028 or later. Meeks said NVIDIA results and guidance continue to counter concerns that massive GPU and AI infrastructure investments will fail to generate adequate returns. He also highlighted NVIDIA's valuation, saying that the stock trades at roughly 16 to 17 times earnings, below the broader S&P 500 multiple and about half of AMD's multiple. Meeks believes stronger evidence that companies can monetize AI investments could unlock even more upside. He also sees lower counterparty risk in NVIDIA's financing arrangements because financially strong hyperscalers have driven roughly 90% of AI infrastructure spending to date. Bespoke Investment Group co-founder Paul Hickey takes a more measured view of NVIDIA's stock prospects. Hickey told CNBC that NVIDIA's enormous size ensures it will remain important to the broader market, but heavier investor attention makes it increasingly difficult for the company to deliver surprises capable of driving outsized share price gains. Not to mention, it's gigantic in the trillions in market cap. He also noted that NVIDIA showed essentially zero correlation with the SOXX semiconductor ETF over the previous 3 months, even as the stock continued to outperform weaker semiconductor shares. Hickey believes NVIDIA's period of hypergrowth in its stock price is likely behind it, but still he considers the broader market an AI bull market and says AI stocks eventually need to regain leadership for that bull market to continue. So really good views here on AI on AI and NVIDIA pretty much across the board. We have a couple more stories here regarding NVIDIA. This next one here, Jensen Huang has a message for the NVIDIA bears betting on open models. Both closed and open models are going to succeed. So we've talked about this recently. We've talked about how some of these, open models might be a little bit cheaper or easier to use. What does that mean for some of the legacy frontier models? Jensen for both. NVIDIA Corporation CEO Jensen Huang said the company is benefiting from the rapid rise of both open and closed AI models, and he argues that the success of either approach ultimately drives demand for NVIDIA's computing infrastructure. During NVIDIA's second quarter earnings call, UBS analyst Timothy Arcuri asked Jensen whether the growing popularity of open models could eventually hurt NVIDIA by reducing demand for major frontier AI companies and their massive computing needs. Huang pushed back on that idea, saying, quote, "The world will need both closed models and open models," end quote, and that both are seeing explosive adoption. He went on to say, quote, "Nearly all open models run on NVIDIA," end quote. Huang said, pointing to the company's broad hardware footprint and CUDA software ecosystem. He added that NVIDIA is positioned to support AI models across PCs, workstations, data centers, robots, and edge devices. Huang argued that open models reaching frontier-level capabilities are helping startups, enterprises, and governments build their own specialized AI systems. Quote, "Every major company and surely every country and every startup needs to build their domain-specific, their proprietary AI," end quote. That growing customization, Huang suggested, creates another source of demand for NVIDIA's computing platforms. The CEO ultimately said NVIDIA does not need to choose a winner in the open versus closed AI debate. Quote, "We're delighted by any model succeeding," end quote. And he goes on to say, "So long as models succeed, I'm very happy. And both closed and open models are going to succeed, and they're both simultaneously driving our sales." So 6 one way, half a dozen the other. NVIDIA is still going to benefit. Open, closed, it doesn't matter. NVIDIA is at the heart of this, and they have proven that once again with this earnings print. Now, the tongue-in-cheek story regarding NVIDIA, this to me, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, hell, we trade these stocks in the morning when we look at some of these PRs. But just getting a little bit more color from Jensen here was rather amusing. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang jokes that his dinner plans can double a stock price, and his track record says that he isn't wrong. I'm glad we're also kind of a food show here, too. That makes me happy. NVIDIA Corporation, ticker NVDA, their CEO Jensen Huang has learned that a single sentence from him can move billions in market value. And on Wednesday, he joked about wielding that power over a dinner. When a Goldman Sachs analyst asked Huang to rank the biggest supply constraints facing the company's growth, power, memory, and foundry capacity on the company's second quarter earnings call, he deflected with a joke instead. Quote, "Last year, one of the funniest things to do is to just go figure out where I go for dinner and who I have dinner with. And their stock price doubled the next day," end quote. He then pivoted back to a serious answer, saying NVIDIA's, quote, "entire supply chain is challenged," end quote, and that the company is running flat out to bring more capacity online. In October of 2025, he dined with Samsung Electronics chairman Lee Jae-yong and Hyundai Motor Company chairman Chung Yi-soon at a popular fried chicken restaurant in Seoul, South Korea, and the outing went viral, sending shares of local fried chicken chains soaring in South Korea. The dinner came as Huang announced NVIDIA would supply more GPUs to South Korean firms, including Samsung and Hyundai. Shares of Marvell Technologies climbed as much as 32% in a single session in June after Huang called it the next $1 trillion company at Computex, then extended those gains the following day. At the same conference, Huang pushed back on fears that AI would wipe out the industry, saying, quote, "This is actually an incredible time to be a software company," end quote. Software stocks rallied sharply on his comments, with the iShares expanded tech software ETF IGV gaining nearly 6%. In January, quantum computing names, including the likes of D-Wave Quantum, which is ticker QBTS, Rigetti Computing, ticker RGTI, and Ionic, ticker IONQ, fell after Huang said practical quantum computing was likely 20 years away. A mere 3 months later, those same stocks rallied again after he reversed course and called technology at an inflection point. So 2 things to take away from this. Three things, really. The first is that NVIDIA is clearly at the heart of all of this. It doesn't matter if it hibernates for a little bit. It is straight up at the heart of AI. Don't forget it. But second of all, if you internet sleuths can somehow figure out where Jensen's going to dinner and who he's dining with, you might have the drop on a stock that might be a big runner the next day. Now, I'm not suggesting anyone go follow him around or do anything nefarious or anything like that. But if you read a lot and you come across something, or if you're on social media, or if you simply have boots on the ground somewhere and you notice that this is the case, hey, maybe listen to what Jensen is saying. And then the third thing on that same note, we really need to pay attention to what he's saying. I know Jensen Huang is one of the biggest promoters of their own company that there is out there, but frankly, his company is extremely important, and the market is telling you that they're hanging on almost every word he says. So when he speaks, even if he's joking about a fried chicken dinner or anything like that, it is absolutely worth listening to. This can move stocks. This can move stocks. That was the best line of the night. The dude said, when I eat at a diner, their stock doubles. I mean, look, these are the times that we're living in. These are the times that we're living in. It is what it is. Okay, we got a couple of minutes before our first guest here. The next thing I want to talk about here is Salesforce, because I know NVIDIA was the big draw yesterday, but there were multiple companies that reported earnings, and boy, oh boy, they look strong. Anne-Marie, I know you were watching CrowdStrike and CRM last night. I'd love to get your opinions here for the group on what to do there. But let's actually cover the report here. Salesforce stock soars on a Q2 double beat, and Claudeforce, the new Anthropic partnership. I got to be honest with you, I do love some of these names. I mean, Claudeforce, like I could rock a Claudeforce shirt or hat, I would say. Pretty awesome. Salesforce delivered second quarter revenue of $11.35 billion. That beat the consensus estimate of $11.32 billion. The enterprise software company posted adjusted earnings of $5.90 per share, and that smoked the estimate of $3.27 per share, according to Benzinga Pro. Total revenue in the quarter was up 11% on a year-over-year basis, and Salesforce said it exited the period with total remaining performance obligations, or RPOs, of $66.5 billion, up 11% year-over-year. Salesforce generated operating cash flow of $1.3 billion and free cash flow of $1.1 billion in the quarter. The company had approximately $8.3 billion in cash and cash equivalents at quarter's end. Quote, "We just delivered one of our best quarters ever, outperforming across every key metric," end quote. And that came from CEO Mark Benioff. He went on to say, quote, "AI is delivering value across every layer of our platform. We're seeing incredible demand for our AI and data products, with ARR close to about $4 billion, end quote. Salesforce expects third quarter revenue to be in the range of $11.42 billion to $11.5 billion. That was versus the estimate of $11.41 billion. The company sees third quarter adjusted earnings of $3.42 to $3.44 per share, and that was versus an estimate of $3.37 per share. Salesforce raised its fiscal 2027 revenue outlook from a range of $45.9 billion to $46.2 billion to a new range of $46.1 to $46.4 billion versus estimates of $46.11 billion. The company raised its full-year adjusted earnings guidance from a range of $14.06 to $14.12 per share to a new range of $16.67 to $16.71 per share, again, versus the estimate of $14.14. In connection with earnings, Salesforce announced a Claudeforce partnership with Anthropic, bringing Claude's intelligence and reasoning together with Salesforce's enterprise platform. Quote, "By fusing Claude's extraordinary reasoning with the trusted data, workflows, and governance every enterprise runs on, we're delivering a dynamic interface that thinks, reasons, and acts. That's how every business will run," end quote. And that came from Mark Benioff. So, Salesforce just absolutely ripping. How much time do I have? I do have a minute here. Let me actually just finish up with the follow-up story here on Salesforce. If we have some more time at the end, we'll go back and talk about CrowdStrike. Salesforce CEO does dismiss the SaaS apocalypse that we have been talking about for some time. And he also goes on to call it nonsense. And after CRM's record Q2 print, he also went on to say that it's time for this to stop. It's time for this to stop. Salesforce, ticker CRM, delivered a record second quarter with accelerating bookings and revenue, prompting CEO Mark Benioff to forcefully dismiss industry fears of an AI-driven software collapse as the, quote, nonsense of this SaaSpocalypse, end quote. Benioff declared it is time for this to stop when addressing the dire market predictions that artificial intelligence would cannibalize enterprise software seats and destroy pricing power. Defying skeptics, Salesforce posted its strongest new net annual order value, or AOV, growth in 4 years, while attrition remained near record lows. Driven by this underlying booking momentum, second quarter revenue rose 11% year over year to $11.35 billion, and current remaining performance obligations, or CRPO, accelerated 14% in constant currency. Salesforce also raised its full-year fiscal 2027 revenue guidance to a range of $46.1 to $46.4 billion. Fueling this operational performance is a landmark partnership with Anthropic to launch Claude Force. The collaboration brings Anthropic's Claude AI natively into Salesforce, enabling a dynamic interface that reasons and acts across enterprise data, workflows, and Slack channels. Benioff hailed the pairing of the #1 AI and the #1 CRM as the future benchmark for how enterprise systems will operate. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei agreed in a CNBC interview, describing the integration as, quote, bigger than the sum of its parts, end quote. Meanwhile, Salesforce internal AI traction accelerated rapidly, with Agentforce ARR exceeding $1.5 billion. That is up 240% year over year. Industry watchers on social media reacted swiftly to the strong second quarter performance in the Anthropic alliance. Hedge fund manager and founder of LIQN.ai, Jared Kubin, observed that Anthropic's founders, quote, did a 180 on software, end quote, shifting from predicting major job losses to becoming huge Salesforce customers. Patrick Moorhead from Moorhead Insights noted the integration lets both firms do what they do best, while softening the destroying all white-collar job mantra. Shea Ballure from Futurum Equities stated that the companies are pushing agentic AI deeper into enterprise workflows without forcing users to leave the chatbot interface. Sam Badawai highlighted that Claude gains governed access to core data systems, allowing enterprises to take real action directly from the chat window. So again, all of these companies, they're all saying that, yeah, this is actually beneficial. Like these whole fears about the mass job losses and how software companies are going to go out of business because AI is going to do everything. It's going to take everyone's job. It's going to ruin every piece of software. Surprise, surprise, folks. The doom and gloom predictions were dead wrong again. Color me shocked. I'm shocked to find out that gambling is going on in this. I mean, it's unbelievable that people keep spinning webs of fear. AI is here. Deal with it. It is what it is. All right. Enough of that rant. It's actually time for something more cheery, and it is my pleasure to bring on Henry Schwartz, VP of Derivatives Market Intelligence at the Cboe Global Markets. Henry, good morning. Happy Thursday. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Look, you kind of just heard the tail end of a rant there. I'm sorry that you had to follow that. But I'll be honest with you. I mean, this whole AI thing, like this is the biggest story in the market. We see examples of how beneficial this is every day. I have projects that wouldn't have been possible 4 months ago that I'm working on right now because of AI. Yet there still seems to be a ton of fear out there. I understand the fear about the conflict in the Middle East. I understand the fear about the conflict in Europe with Russia and Ukraine. I understand the inflation fears, but I don't understand this new technology being so fearful that people want to sit on the sidelines. So to me, these earnings reports, I'm glad they're out of the way. I'm glad we're trading higher. It's my hope that we can actually bring more people into this ecosystem. But that's just my own 2 cents. What do you think about everything?
Well, it has been really interesting. And, it's funny, the option volume was really light for the last couple of days. So it really did feel like traders were just kind of like sitting it out a bit. I actually saw a few big defensive hedges, including a big one in NVIDIA on Monday. So when stock was around 209, we basically saw a put spread, which it wasn't a short-term trade. It was a slightly longer-term trade. But, as you said, there's a lot of angst in terms of, I think, there's a lot of people that are like, I can't believe the returns we're seeing. A lot of kind of maybe the traditional, older group is like, this can't possibly last. And it's creating a lot of FOMO. I think it's creating some interesting dynamics, some additional volatility. Even with today's move up to around 222, which is pretty interesting because it's exactly what was priced into the option. So NVIDIA is not usually a big option, a big mover on results. It moves kind of 3 or 4%.
Mhm.
If this 6% move or 7% move sticks today, that'll be a little bit above normal, but it is
Mhm.
exactly what the market had priced in. So, I think what you're seeing is there's a lot of people trying to figure out, okay, is this the technological revolution that it kind of feels like, or is this ridiculous amounts of capex and trillion-dollar investments getting thrown around, and a lot of kind of some of the circular financials make
Mhm.
people a little bit nervous. But in the end, this market just continues to grind higher. We're not quite back at all-time highs, but we're not far off.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I hear from people, especially those that were professionally trading through the internet boom, they draw a
Mhm.
lot of comparisons to that. And while I can understand some of it, I don't know that it's going to be an apples to apples comparison. I think that there are several AI companies that eventually won't exist. They won't make it.
Mhm.
There will be a lot of winners, just like there was in the internet boom. But I'm just not sure I see some of the same connections there. But thanks for humoring me there. Look, I wanted to ask you, what is the broader macro picture looking like right now? Now that we've got through this big print, which it did
Mhm.
feel like everybody was kind of waiting for. What does the macro picture look like to you?
So what we're seeing is this story of this year, with S&P up 12-13%, the small caps up almost 20%, has been one of dispersion. Meaning, what we've seen is basically certain stocks, certain groups of stock sectors doing really, really well. Things like the energy sector, the high flyer Mag 10s, they've been a little bit more volatile. They're kind of off their all-time highs, and some of them are significantly off. But it does feel like what you've said. We're kind of back into an upswing on that. But the macro picture, what we're seeing kind of higher levels of volatility, across the spectrum. Meaning, if you look at, I put together basically some of the ETFs that track these big sectors. So USO for oil, GLD for gold, S&P for the S&P 500, and we're seeing kind of, if you look at kind of the percentile space, we're kind of, except for treasuries, right, which that's also been a kind of a story, and that's actually one of the slightly kind of concerning undercurrents that's going on. Although in the last couple of days, everybody's just been focused on NVIDIA, um, but there is kind of higher volatility, but also, we're not seeing a lot of correlation, right? So basically, these sectors and asset classes are kind of moving somewhat independently. We definitely see a lot of capital kind of being moved around, because as you mentioned, there's still a lot of geopolitical, not just uncertainty, but there's true crises going on. But at the same time, we've got this capital market in the States that just continues to attract money and attract investors, and just kind of keep grinding higher. So it's kind of a mixed picture, but what we're seeing at Cboe is basically just kind of continued activity, except for the fact that it's been a little bit slow for this week. We're still looking at record option volume and a lot of new products coming out, so it's an exciting time.
Okay, and to me, one of the other things that we have been talking, and I'd be very curious to see what you feel about this, and if you have any data confirming this. One of the things that we've been talking about this summer quite a bit is that hello, there is a seems like a lack of participation across the market. And it seems like volumes are quite low. It seems like people are often waiting for specific events, whether it be the NVIDIA earnings or a Fed meeting or something like that. And I'm wondering, are you seeing any hints of volume kind of returning to the market? Our kind of running thesis right now is that post Labor Day, we're likely to see more participation, and that might mean more volatile moves for some of these names. Are we on track at all, or is there any data that you watch to kind of determine if there's more participation coming back into the market?
So I'm actually doing a lot of kind of work into the retail option trading segment. So, which we know, and June was an all-time record month. That was when the pattern day trading rule went away.
Yeah.
So we saw an incredible upsurge in what was already very, very strong options activity from the retail segment. And that's actually kind of continued a trend, which is, volume is definitely moderated a bit, but if you look at the option flow versus the underlying stock flow, both are up. The option flow is up, around 12, 13%. We're looking at like kind of over 70 million contracts a day. The underlying stock and ETF volume is up a little bit less. I believe it's around 8%. So there's growth. It's not the kind of growth that we've seen, and I think part of that is coming from the fact that we actually do have like I said, there's decent amount of dispersion, right? You've got winners and losers, which works out well for kind of stock pickers, right? And it's a little bit more of
Absolutely.
a comfortable environment, right? When you have high correlation and everything's moving down because there's a lot of concern, or everything is kind of flying higher, I think that changes, that people kind of sit back and they try to figure out, okay, what's going on here? Because that's a little bit more, that's a different message. It's not so much, how is NVIDIA doing versus, other firms. It just becomes kind of like, is it safe to have my money in risk assets? So we see, and the other thing is, I think that because we've got very solid performance, especially in equities this year, you also just get people kind of sit back a little bit and they're like, okay, so if I'm up 12% this year, and you only have to go back a couple of years, I think the S&P is up 80% in 5 years. So you've got a lot of wealth created. You've got some people that are just sitting on it. You have some people hedging it. You have some people kind of wishing they'd had more in the market over this interval. So it just kind of creates a lot of different dynamics, which is kind of why we have a market, right? You have option buyers, you have option sellers, you have people that really want to get long, you have people that really want to kind of tail their exposure and maybe trim things as we go into the last third of the year, which historically can be a little bit rockier.
Yeah. And okay. So this is a really good. I wanted to ask you about that. Before I get to my next question here, I want to kind of throw one in here. So first of all, one of the things that we've kind of noticed is that it seems like folks don't necessarily want to sell some of their winners. Rather, they maybe want to borrow against that position, or they maybe want to sell options to try and create more income that way. I'm curious, with the midterms coming up here, we had what kind of felt like kind of a sideways, slower end of summer here. With the midterms coming up here, with the AI theme, and then all of the uncertainty that we already covered, you think that there's a possibility that we really kind of have like a strong end to the year here?
Well, it's actually very interesting because we've November 4th and 5th expirations for SPX, right? So that's actually gonna
Mhm.
cover the actual election night. And we're just beginning to kind of see some positioning there. It's very early. I think they've only been listed for 4 or 5 days, but those contracts are out there. So we're absolutely going to be closely tracking. Is it bearish, protective kind of positioning, or are we seeing some speculation? I think there's going to be a lot going on as we get into the fall. As I said, we're looking at very solid returns. So the drive to hedge will certainly start to pick up in the fourth quarter. We usually see that because at big asset managers that are looking at pretty decent gains year to date, and they really should be, can basically set aside 50 basis points or 1% to basically say, I want to kind of lock things in so I can have a nice end of the year. But I think it's very, very possible we're gonna see a rockier period. In fact, VIX is around 15, and if we have kind of the day that it looks like, where market, S&P is going to be up, you probably continue to see a little bit of VIX compression. With low market-wide volatility, it's a nice time to hedge. I would definitely tell people to kind of look at some of these names and look at basically that we've talked about put call skew in the past, right? Where
Mhm.
just think about, okay, if a stock's at 100, what does it cost to buy the 90 put and maybe sell the 110 call? Okay, take that in percentage terms or standard deviation space or whatever you want, and look at that price and say, if it's actually in some of these highly speculative names, you can actually come up with a situation where that doesn't cost anything, or it even creates a small credit. And doing there, and when I see this happening, I usually kind of tell everybody that'll listen, hey, there's the opportunity here to limit your downside, give up a little bit of upside, but you keep some upside and not spend any money. And that's kind of what that's an incredibly great use case for options. It's one of the most popular strategies. It's called a collar, and you have the ability to basically kind of pick the strikes, pick the expirations that fit your kind of time horizon. But I think we're going to see more of that going into year end, because really what we're looking at is relatively low vol. That means options are on the low end in terms of historical pricing. And in a lot of names, you kind of either have a symmetrical skew or even a ramped up call skew, which means that there's such a demand for upside calls. You can take advantage of that if you have a core position in the underlying, by basically selling some of those calls. And then you just have to kind of keep an eye on the position, because in some cases, people are sitting on big gains, right? And in a lot of cases, you want to be careful if the stock does go through that upside call strike. Okay, even though you've made some money up to that strike, you have to be careful you don't end up selling it when those options expire and then paying tax bill.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there. Yeah. Buy insurance while it's cheap too. That's a lesson that I've learned very, very early on. I'll pass that along to anyone that hasn't learned that lesson. Buy it while it's cheap. All right. Henry, look, what are some of the best directional trades and how are they selected? I saw that you had a list in some of the material that you had for today. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So it's a certainly I will admit it's a bit of a cherry picking way to look at things, but basically I run a query that looks at the most profitable opening option trades on a daily basis. And so what I did here was just put a few together, and there's a couple things. Historically, if you look backwards, some people buy calls, the underlying explodes higher, they're certainly going to make a lot of money. That's easier said than done. And but in this case, I wanted to kind of show basically the top three are kind of some broad instruments, right? SPY, SPX, and IBIT. And I wanted to point out, so there were a couple of the SPX and SPY trades were actually on down days last week. And what you see is kind of the leverage at work. So these were short dated trades, whether 1 or 2 day trades. The return on the option was between 60 and 140%, kind of showing you that the implicit leverage in short dated options is, I would say it's extreme, and it can be very, very favorable when you get a move right. So in the case of that second one, the SPX put trade, basically they made 66% on the option premium when the market itself was down not even 0.5% from the trade point. So that shows you kind of why people like to trade listed options, because you get that asymmetrical payoff, right? The risk was what they spent on the option, the return is what they made on it, and that return can be a lot higher than the premium spent. So I just think it's a really good exercise to really think about when you're using options, using them, and just kind of hit home back that the returns on options can be 5, 10, 50 times what the underlying did on that same kind of period, which is what but at the same time, if you're on the wrong side of the trade, it can be the other way, which is why what we see kind of in the retail space is generally either option buying or kind of defined risk strategies where that basically something like a vertical spread, where you can sell an option, but you've limited your mask risk to the distance between the two strikes on the spread.
Okay. All right. Henry, is there anything else notable that you want to discuss before we adjourn here for today? Got a big day coming up.
I saw it's gonna be a busy day, I'm sure. Yesterday, I think we barely traded 51 million contracts, which is a lot, but it's not the 70 million that we've been running an average on. No, what was interesting is Cboe's working on these KPI binary options, which basically will let people, once these are approved, bet on things specifically like what are the earnings per share for NVIDIA, rather than betting okay, the earnings are going to be good and the stock's going to go up. It's part of what we're seeing out there is this explosion in kind of different ways to put capital to work and express your views. And so we expect these to start trading in the fourth quarter, very beginning of the fourth quarter, I believe. But yesterday was an interesting trial run, because I was lucky enough to kind of sit in on a meeting where we saw the earnings get released by NVIDIA, and how fast basically that showed up in the settlement process for these binaries, which we hope to have listed for the next cycle. So it's really exciting times, because that unlocks a lot of creativity and different ways for traders to kind of express their view and say, look, I have a feeling for what the stock might do, but I also have done some homework and have a belief on what some of the the metrics that the company releases are going to show. And so we'll have contracts that'll make those easy to trade, and CBOE's, excited to get those listed.
Yeah, a lot of exciting stuff going on right now. The Cboe seems to be at the center of it, which is absolutely fantastic. Henry, we really appreciate the time here this morning. Folks, Henry Schwartz, VP of Derivatives Market Intelligence at the Cboe Global Markets. Henry, thanks for waking up with us. I can't wait to continue to get insight from you as we continue here into the end of the year.
Awesome. Talk to you soon, Ryan. Thanks.
All right. That is Henry Schwartz, folks. And oops, sorry, producer. We're fighting each other. Producer. All right. So really good stuff. I think we're going to have just an absolute crazy day here today. I will say we kind of joked yesterday. Cramer put out that tweet very early in the morning saying it's going to be a monumental day. We kind of laughed at it. Turns out that might still be in deck. Yesterday was, at least in the after hours, was pretty monumental. We'll see if we get any carry through on that here today. Yep, I have a new mess here created by the office assistant who isn't actually helping with anything. All right, folks, I really did very briefly want to talk about CrowdStrike. We can actually start with the chart here. We talked about NVIDIA a lot. We've talked about Salesforce here. CrowdStrike also reported earnings. Here's a look at the chart. Now, what's cool about this is that CrowdStrike really kind of having a tough recent time here. We pushed up to this high. We're really kind of sold off. We actually lost a couple of moving averages with really not a whole lot of bounce, right? We went right through the 20. The next day, we went through the 50 and closed beneath it. The next day, we tried to get back above, couldn't. Same deal the following day, and then it looked like we were going to kind of break away from that. But today, all of that might be reversed because the earnings print sent us higher here by 9.36%. It was a pretty good report. We talked a lot about cybersecurity being really key, especially as AI continues to ramp. And the chart here, CrowdStrike, we're now gapping above the 50 and the 20. And frankly, it closed above this 206.5 would actually bode quite well for CrowdStrike. This recent high up here, about 227. If you zoom out, you can see this is going to be an all-time high. So we'll see what we get here on CrowdStrike today. Definitely something to pay attention to. Let's actually run through the news story here real quick. We'll tell you how they actually did on earnings and what to expect here. So, all right, CrowdStrike reported second quarter revenue of $1.47 billion. That beat the consensus estimate of $1.44 billion, according to Benzinga Pro. The company posted adjusted earnings of 31 cents per share, which beat the estimate of 29 cents per share. Total revenue was up 26% year over year in the quarter, and subscription revenue came in at $1.4 billion, which was up 27% year over year. Annual recurring revenue increased 25% year over year to $5.84 billion after the company added $332.8 million of net new ARR in the quarter. Net cash generated from operations was $530.3 million, and free cash flow came in at $377.4 million. CrowdStrike exited the period with $5.01 billion in cash and cash equivalents. Quote, Q2 was the best quarter in CrowdStrike's history. End quote. And that came from George Kurtz, founder and CEO of CrowdStrike. He went on to say, the mythos moment translated into mass market acceptance that AI adoption needs security. And that's CrowdStrike. Every enterprise will run on AI, and securing it is the largest market opportunity in our history. So we just spent time talking about how Jensen's a really good promoter of his own stock. Got to be honest with you here. The language that Kurtz is using in this earnings report makes it seem like there is an extremely bright future ahead for CrowdStrike. And honestly, with the AI theme expanding, I think he's right. I think he could throw Palo Alto in there too, for sure. CrowdStrike expects third quarter revenue of $1.52 billion to $1.529 billion versus the estimate of $1.51 billion. The company anticipates third quarter adjusted earnings of 31 cents per share, which is in line with estimates. CrowdStrike raised its fiscal 2027 revenue guidance from a range of $5.92 billion to $5.96 billion to a new range of $5.99 to $6.01 billion versus the $5.93 estimate. The company also raised its full-year adjusted earnings guidance from a range of $122 to $124 to a new range of $125 to $126 versus the estimate of $123. Okay. Okta also had good earnings as well. Kenneth, you're absolutely right. All of these are going to be in play here today. I've added all of them to the bot universe as well. Here's what the Okta chart looks like. This thing, $159 here today. And check this out. We actually have a nice trend line that represents a target for us on Okta. This is what it looks like inside or intraday. Let me actually reset this so we can see a little bit more of that. This thing popped, went straight to the high, and it has stayed there. So one thing for the purpose of trading here today would probably mark off the bottom of this range. Let's call it 157.5. And then also the top end of the range, let's call it 162.5. A break out or down from that range plus a back test gives you an A+ trade setup in either direction. I didn't realize this. Apparently, CrowdStrike invited the producer to a Tigers game 2 weeks ago. Oh, they gave a demo and presentation of the new tools for AI security. Producer, I wish I could have seen that. Do you have any key takeaways from that? Does it look awesome? Does it? Tell me if you have any takeaways from that. That's actually a really cool thing that you got to take part in. That's really cool. Okay, what time is it here? 8:56. We got a couple of minutes before 13. I've got a huge mess around me from the cat. It is what it is. I would say until 13 gets here, why don't we take a look at some of these other stocks? You know what? Let's do synopsis. Tyler asked politely about that early. I often forget when you guys ask about stuff. I hate it. Believe me, it's a personal flaw I'm trying to work on, but I've remembered this time. Let's take a look at synopsis. Now, I don't care for this company, mostly because of my Bill Gates aversion. However, the stock does trade pretty well if you can catch it correctly. And here's what we'll start with the intraday chart. So they reported earnings here. Stock plunged yesterday. And then immediately, the bounce back recovered. So this is basically right back to where it was. It did end up going red, green too. That has me wondering if we're primed to move higher here today. Now, also looking at the daily chart, we certainly have this, what looks like what, 1, 2, 3 quadruple bottom here. Let's call it 370 to 380 as the area. Man, oh man. Really, really good support area that this is coming up off of. And now we have some great targets above. Right? Looks like we're going to test the 50 here. That looks like it might even be on deck here today. Then we have the 100 and the 200 basically stacked on top of each other at 445, 446. Then we have the 500 day there at 481. So to me, if this can hold this area, Tyler, especially like this really, really stiff support area, to me, it sure looks like Synopsis's next move might be higher here. Let's take a look at this. The 391 beat the 367 estimate. Sales of 2.47 billion beat the 2.43 billion estimate. They raised their sales guidance. Looks like Needham reiterated a buy and maintained their $580 price target. That actually reminds me, let's take a look at some of the other price targets that are fresh on this stock. So we have the reiteration here from Needham today. That's 580. Rosenblatt has 575. They came out with that 2 days ago. Morgan Stanley lowered it, but still went to 500. Wells Fargo lowered it and went to 450. And Benchmark announced new coverage and went to 570. So I'll be honest with you, judging by the report, judging by the chart, and judging by where analysts have their price targets here, Tyler, to me, it sure seems like Synopsis's next move is likely up, unless there's something else that we might be missing here. But looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. C Boogie saying, what's the price target for CrowdStrike? I don't necessarily have a target. I really like what Jay's doing on not giving out targets, just kind of letting the trade work. I don't really have a target, but the first level that I'm looking at is going to be this 225 to the all-time high. In fact, let me just actually get you the number there. I'm sorry. It's hard for me to measure, but let me actually get you that number. That high there, 227.50. So 225 to 227.50. It's that area that I want to see what happens with CrowdStrike next. My gut tells me that's where we're going next. That's what I would say. And then if we break that, I guess we can go from there. Tyler, I've been waiting to get long I've been waiting to get in long term. I think I'm going to choose this 400 area. So going back to synopsis here, Tyler, I honestly don't think this is a bad spot. By the way, Anne Marie, maybe synopsis is one that we should look at tomorrow. I know that you were asking about some of the stocks that we can look at. Perhaps synopsis might make a good one, especially if the viewers are kind of looking for that. That might be something to take a look at. Okay, and then C Boogie. I know I was giving you the spot from the chart that I was looking at, but you asked about actual price targets. Let me see if I can at least give that to you. As far as professional price targets here, we've got a bunch here today. So it looks like we've got 5 today. KeyBank 245, Evercore 210, Needham 250, and Cantor Fitzgerald 250, and then BTIG 245. It sure looks to me that we have anywhere between 30 and 40 points of movement based on just the analyst ratings here for CrowdStrike. That's ticker CRWD. CRWD. Okay. Let's see. How are we doing here? We're still waiting for 13. We still seem to be doing good on time. Let's take a look at, there we go. Just speak it into existence. Speak it into existence. Bob, I agree. Hit the like button for me. But you know what? All jokes aside, hit the like button for everybody. Hit the like button for our producer, which keeps the show on the rails, making sure I don't just go down some rabbit hole that nobody gives a damn about. Smash up the like for 13, who literally charts things in his sleep. We're kind of worried about him, but he does a great job charting. And also smash up the like button for my brand new cat, who said, you know what? I'm going to make Ryan's day more difficult today, and I'm going to knock over half the crap in his office and then go play with it and throw it into the hall. So smash up the like for all of those things here. We're going to have a great day. Now, all jokes aside, we're going to go ahead and bring on 13. And I am fighting the producer today. This is crazy. I'm going to go ahead and bring on 13. Let's see how he's doing. 13, no intro, just a cold ad here today. Good morning. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing fine. Still woke up from dreaming about charts, apparently.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you see, let me ask you a question. Texas, a lot of driving, big state. Do you ever just kind of drive along the expressway and see chart formations on the horizon and in the clouds? I do. So,
no.
Okay.
No,
well,
I like
maybe I'm the weirdo then.
Work separate from the rest of my life.
What's that?
I like to keep my work separate from the rest of my life.
Okay.
This is where I come on here to have fun. I stare at charts long enough when I'm sitting at my computer. When I leave, it's a different mode. But okay. Hey, how's everybody in the chat this morning?
We're good, man. We're really good. We're really excited to see what happens on the back of this NVIDIA print. Lot of really good earnings. CRM, Okta, CrowdStrike, NVIDIA, even Synopsys, which went lower and then went red-green. Really optimistic about today. So, all right, 13, is there any chart that you could possibly look at real quick? I have a gigantic mess that I need to clean up and then make sure that there's no choking hazards anywhere around here.
Well, the only one that I saw that was really moving this morning meaningfully, like over 100%, was PPCB.
Okay, perfect. And I think some of the chat was talking about that, 13, PPCB.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it. Looks like it's another biotech, which, hey, since we had that Moderna news, this is kind of the theme.
And we talked about that theme too. So I think that this is definitely something to pay attention to. All right, 13, give me 25 seconds here. I'll be right back.
All right, and go. All right, so apparently they have just announced preclinical and early translational data for its lead candidate PRP in pancreatic ductal adenocarcinoma. And it shows that they've had greater than 90% mean tumor growth inhibition and more than 2.5-fold median survival extension. This all sounds great. Let's look at their financials. So like most biotechs, no money, no revenue, I mean. They have very little cash. So maybe we want to be careful with this one. This is preclinical, so there's going to be some other trials ahead. And those are going to be costly. So they're going to need cash for that. And I don't know if we've had capital raises prior. Looks like they, for some reason, had a share repurchase program, 5 million that they had they completed their first tranche of. Now, I don't see any other capital raising. So Without looking further into this one, I would be a little bit concerned about their financial position, and they would need to show some more cash on that balance sheet in order for me to feel comfortable about this one. Not coming up with an offering as for trading this. So there's that. Float 2 million. And the market cap's under 5. So it's one of those kinds of candidates that could end up getting pushed around today. Let me look and see where this could potentially go. This is where we look at the chart. And it looks like we're trying to, okay, so we've really moved over the 50-day SMA. This is quite a substantial move from the close yesterday. Coming up to some resistance around $4, it looks like. On my pro chart here. If we do not get resistance there, and we just manage to get through it, well, actually that whole area between 4 and 6 looks pretty heavy with supply. Look at my broker's chart and see if there's something else that I see out of this, because usually this is more split adjusted. And we are... Hey, there you are.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, 13. Appreciate the assist there.
Yeah, it's still the same thing. I'd still say 4 to 6 looks like you have some supply there that could be tough to get through. So that's about where I see maybe this going in the pre-market. Maybe it goes further above 4 in the pre-market, but there is that area there between 4 and 6 that may see a lot of back and forth on its way up. So. Unless there's some really good volume that gets us through all that, that's about where I see the supply zone causing problems.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff. Do you want to hit just the movers list, knock that out? We've got Ed asking about SpaceX. We've got a couple of things we can do here. Which direction you want to go?
Yeah, the movers list isn't that great.
So let's just knock it out and get it over with, because there might be another mover that kind of rears its head close to the open, and then we can review what the chat actually wants. So you just took a look at PPCB.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And the other two that are anywhere close to 100 are going to be VNRX, which is a penny stock, and Merck, which is another penny stock. And then you have the Okta leveraged ETF. WNW, that's one we've traded before, but that's only up 32%. We can look at some of these, but I don't know how much is
okay. I'm going to start with WNW because we've actually traded this one before. I recognize this ticker. I recognize the name. This is a Chinese name that went to 450 and has already bled back over $1 of that gain. Now it is still holding higher here by 30.65%. Here's what the daily chart looks like. So folks, do not be fooled. We've seen this one move before. It comes right back in. Let's check some of the metrics on this. 65 million and 26 million shares in the float. So it's not the same as our sub 5 million market cap micro float stocks, but it is a China name. It is moving on absolutely no news, at least none that I can see here. And it has negligible short interest. So I don't know if this is going to be one of the better ones here today. 13, do you see anything on the chart that kind of stands out to you?
Well, my broker's chart, there's there was like the sideways consolidation. Could argue that it was trading into a descending triangle, but that is going to be from about 3 to most of it is like from 3 to 475. And we're in between that right now, trying to get through it. I don't know if you can see it on a daily chart. I'm trying to zoom in myself. Yeah, you can see it. So that's kind of where we're at right now. If you just kind of zoom in and look at all that price action from about April this year until July, that's the whole area there is likely full of just sellers trying to get out. So that supply there is my big concern. Now, if we get good enough volume that we can chew through all of this, well then great. We may see beyond 4, maybe even 5. But that is a lot of supply to get through, in my opinion. And
just kind of eyeballing it, 13, I agree with you. And just kind of eyeballing it, sure looks like 425 to 6 is that entire range.
There's a little bit more up there, but those moves are so quick that I'm focusing more on where the bulk of the price action is. And that bulk is generally between 3 and 475.
Oh my goodness. I was just, you know what? EKS, hang on. We got Chewbacca giving EKS love here. Good shout here, EKS. WNW surges 59% in the pre-market on a $35 million skincare network acquisition. Shame on me. I raised my hand on this one. There was no headline. And when I said that there was no news, I was basically headline skimming. Don't do that. Actually take a closer look at the news, because I straight up missed this. This is exactly what EKS is talking about. In a Wednesday Securities and Exchange Commission filing, Maywu Technology said its wholly owned subsidiary, Jamin Chenghung Health Technology, I butchered it, I'm sorry, not sorry, but am sorry, entered into an equity transfer agreement last week with Jamin Commercial and two of its shareholders to acquire 100% of Jamin for about $35 million in cash and considerations upon closing. So that is the news. EKS, sorry about that. I was fooled by the headline. So there is a piece of news on this one. Okay.
Okay. I still maintain that that supply zone is going to be tough.
Yeah, me too. I don't think that changes any of the charting that we just did.
Yeah. But you know, this could be good later if this acquisition ends up working out. Maybe we'll see this one trade again, and we can get on top of that one. But for now, I think that range we discussed with all that supply is going to be difficult to move through.
Okay, and Bob summed it up fairly easily for everyone else that doesn't really care. It's a crap China company. So the CCC, you could call it, crap China company. Okay, next here, several of you folks are mentioning YMT. So I'm just going to jump ahead here and take a look at it. This is Yamutian. Probably butchered that too. Another Chinese name. Looks like this thing spiked to 5 and has already come back into 350. Lol, that's always fun. I've got a float here of 66.2 million. Let me check the reverse splits in case there was a recent one. I don't. Well, I guess I have to go through these forms in case one of these is the reason for what's going on. We'll do that here in a sec. Maybe it is. Okay, so
yeah, equity purchase agreement. Yeah,
that's probably is what it is then. Okay, a real quick here. Yes, as of today, the thing did a 1 for 16 reverse. This is what I thought. So, Wis, you were asking about the float, right? You were asking about the float. So we've got a 1 for 16 reverse. So am I correct in doing some napkin math here about dividing the float by 16?
I think this is going to also be on deck for another move when they regain NASDAQ compliance. I think that's what this is heading towards with that reverse split, their equity agreement. I think that's what we could end up seeing here, because they have until September to meet the bid price and equity requirements. So I think that's what we might be facing here. Now, I would have to look and see if they got any, determination since then, but it looks like that's the case. September 29th and 30th, it looks like, or some of the compliance dates. So it looks like they have about a month, a little more than a month.
Okay, well, that might be too long because this thing's almost already round tripped it here. And by the way, my napkin math gives me a float of just over 4 million, Wis. I don't know if that's correct. I'm just going off of the calculation from the previous market cap that's per Morningstar, and then we're just dividing it by the split. So to me, I think it's probably closer to 4 million there.
Great catch, Crimp Biscuit. I didn't see that with PPCB. Let me look at the news feed. Because he's saying HRT Financial with this one. Let me see here. It may have,
my insider tab only shows grants from some of the people in the company. It doesn't show HRT, which it has done in the past, but
yeah, I'm not seeing anything on the news feed. But I'll take your word for it, because they seem to be everywhere these days. I just don't see any filings in the news feed here for them. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll see if I'll ask Claude here and see if he can kind of uncover anything for us. We can take a look at other stocks in the meantime if you want, though. Was there anything else on the movers list that we should look at? Yas?
Sure, why not?
YAAS? I mean, I wasn't even joking.
I know, but it's just, whenever I hear that word. So it looks like they had some kind of, that's like their financial results of their earnings today.
Okay.
What's going on.
And this went to 450. Chinese stock, let's see what the stats are in this bad boy. Float 14 million, a market cap 11.4 million. You got any thoughts here on this chart? It looks like we kind of just lost VWAP, really haven't been able to hold above VWAP.
Let me zoom in on the price action since this is another one of those reverse splitters. Well, here's something positive. You do have a golden cross that happened in the middle of this month. So we do have a bit of a floating island, right? If you look at a daily chart, we popped up at the end of the month, July, held up here.
Yep.
And now we're starting to trade higher. So this looks decent.
Yeah. 13, now that you mention it here, just kind of looking at this, I would say that the high of this candle, 498, that could be a level.
Yeah.
To your point, that could be a level.
Yep. I think that this one looks a little bit better as far as the chart goes for this name, but I would say that if there's going to be downside, you got some pretty good looking resistance around 230, 225 to the upside. It's probably going to be that spot you just mentioned, that right before $5. That looks like that could still be the same resistance. Now, since it's going to be the second visit up here, maybe there's a little bit more of a chance that this gets pushed through it, but we still need to climb up through 4 and get up to towards 5, and we're still trading at 325. So it's got a little ways to go if we're going to even get up there today, but it's got some positive technicals.
Yeah,
it does. I don't know how great it's going to be.
I love this here from Jay. They did 1.88 million. That's almost as much as his local Circle K gas station this month. Jay's just out here slinging rocks. I love it. All right. Was there anything else from the movers list that you want to cover? Jaquimi's asking for some technicals on NVIDIA. I think it's probably a good idea to run through NVIDIA, CRM, CrowdStrike, Octo, some of the big movers here today, or the bigger movers here today. Is there anything from the movers list that you want to take a look at? I saw a number of folks mentioning DAIC. This is kind of continued here this week. This is actually holding up quite well this morning. I would really think we would need a break above the 630 area to really kind of close out the structure that we have in the pre-market to maybe test that after hours high.
Let's see here. This is getting very extended on the daily chart. It's been having multi-day moves up here. We are looking at some resistance at was this 664. Okay, so the high was 669, so we'll probably just call it 670. So 670, if you look to the left, that was in April. That was about the high that we had, and the last time we were up here at this range, because this thing just leaked the entire year up until just a few days ago. So we are trying to get through this resistance from February to basically in February. It's like almost the entire month of supply here, and then we lost that level on February 26th. Haven't been able to recapture it. So that's gonna. I think that's the spot that I'd be keeping an eye on, is that 670 to $7 area for resistance.
Okay,
but like I said, on the daily chart, this thing is it's got an 88 RSI. This thing is very extended, so I don't know how much higher this can go before it comes back in looking for some support, which to me looks like it could be at about $4 support for now.
Okay. All right, good stuff there. DAIC, one of our runners here from earlier, Bob mentioning that this has hit a wall at 625. I think I still 625. I think I still like those higher 6 spots as well. All right, 13. Anything else that you want to cover?
Real quick on DAIC, because I think Samel had mentioned something about delisting with this, and it looks like on August 18th they had received a notice of default and demand to assemble collateral from counsel to LTHI, and I'm not exactly sure what that's all about, but oh, here we go. On Friday before, it looks like there was a NASDAQ delisting notice that they received. So, yeah, this what
was the date of that delisting notice?
August 14th.
Okay, interesting, because now on August 24th, that's what started this 44-cent run to where we are here at 5. So it looks like they're doing everything they can to stay above that threshold for the delisting. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, this was the one that we traded before. I think it was last week or so, where this one was.
It was Monday of this week.
I could have sworn it was early. It was last week, because they had on August 19th. This was the one where they was trading lower after it announced NASDAQ delisting deficiency and loan default. I recall we talked about that.
Yeah, it did drop in the pre-market, and then it did trade up out of the open. So maybe that was the first day, but the first day up was okay, cool.
Okay. Good mention, Sunil. So this one has some listing issues, and they could be delisted, and they also have a loan in default. So maybe it's just squeezing. Maybe it's squeezing a little bit. I don't know.
Okay, JJ says I traded it. It was quite the ride. Hopefully it was a good one.
Nice.
Hopefully it was a good one. Okay, I'm going to go back to the main chart tool here. We've got 10 minutes till we open. Let's start with Jaquimi's request here. He had asked about NVIDIA technicals prior to the open. Let's go ahead and do that. Really quickly, I'd love to hear 13's breakdown. Really quickly, though, the next key level here sure looks to be 228.5. This recent high that we've kind of slowly traded down from, can we take that, or do we find resistance here? That's going to be my question. It is still a couple of points higher than where we're at. I also have this trend line here. I don't know why it doesn't get saved. The downside levels, I would want to see 217 hold. That's going to be your 20-day moving average. If this completely retraces back down to the trend line, I actually think that that's going to be bad. So 13, you have anything else on this one in terms of technicals?
So when we were watching this one when they had earnings, the initial print sent it lower, and I just imagine that was options related, because we had indicated there were options looking for this to go in both directions, which it essentially did. But it wasn't until that conference call started where this thing really started to take off. And then we got all kinds of really juicy information. Not exactly everything I was looking for, but first time they ever provided 1-year guidance, which I think that demonstrates a robust level of confidence in where they're headed going forward. Even though they did say that their revenue growth would be about 70, and their margins going into the end of this year were going to be lower. That's a good reason for this to, that I could see people exiting this, because margin compression is that can cause people to leave. If there's
now that margin compression, let's okay. So the margin compression, that is true. Their gross margin guide, their Q3 guide, was 74%. That was down from the 75% that they delivered.
Give or take 50 basis points.
Yeah. So it did compress, but I mean,
well, hold on. They're still forecasting to go as low as 72% or 71% down there before they finally bottom, and then they expect to start turning around afterwards in fiscal year 2028. But because of supply chain constraints, that's the reason why their growth is going to be subdued for that year to I guess 70%.
Yeah, I mean, Jensen's been saying quarter after quarter after quarter that they're supply constrained, and that is still what's going on here. So, okay, Jaquimi, there you go. Let me know if that helps. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Did you have more?
I didn't give any levels.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We were talking about other stuff, but so there's actually a trend line here. It's kind of a long one. It's where we're running up into resistance. It's just it's in this gap here between August 17th to 18th. That's where the trend line runs through. So there may be some resistance up in there. I could see this running to 225, finding resistance after we fill that gap that was created. And if we do end up holding up around that 225 angle or area, maybe just above 224 at the very least, I could see some more of a push to the upside. But if we can't hold this I would say 223 area, if we start trading and closing underneath that, then we're probably going to end up coming back in a little bit more.
Okay. Interesting stuff there on NVIDIA. I'm just going to roll through these. No one else has suggested another one of their earnings charts, but we'll just roll through a couple of them. Here's CRM, and this one's really interesting because we had this 230 line marked off, this horizontal line, and it basically traded right up to that. It is butting up against that here in the pre-market. This is what it looks like intraday. You can see we did actually go above that in the after hours. We're basically testing that area here. To me, it sure seems like CRM wants to go and try and take out the after hours high from yesterday. Chart looks great. This also looks like a recent move off of a support trend line, followed by a rejection at the 200, then a recapture of the 200, then a back test of the 200. Now with the earnings, we're pushing away from that. This seems to me 230, 250, your two next upside spots.
Yeah, I think this move is great, but I have a feeling we're going to see some selling into this and profit taking because it is getting extended. It's over 73 RSI. Not to say it couldn't push up a little bit more, but it's getting into a consolidation channel, and that's at right at 230. So that's why I don't think it was able to stick around there. I think that you could end up seeing some selling, and if that does happen, I like the 214, 215 area for support. It'd be good if we got. I don't think it would be bad if we did go down to the 200 in search of support, but on the way down from here, 215 looks like the next support area. And you also have that little few days back in January where it just kind of went sideways. So that's more or less where that 215 area also is. I think you do get some support at 215, but I don't know if it's going to be the support that turns the price around. It may end up going back down to the 200.
Okay, I don't know if you have this trend line, but one of the trend lines that we recently added to CRM was connecting some of the lows going back to April of 2025. Looks like the Liberation Day low. We actually connected some of these lows. I basically just extended this trend line out here today. This trend line looks like it acted as resistance. I almost wonder, I'm eyeballing this at 214. You said 215 as a possible support area. I almost wonder if a back test of that trend line is on deck.
That's where I'm getting my 215 area.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's that trend line. It's the consolidation from February. It's several things here that are pointing to support around that 215 area. But I'm not saying it's a support that's going to likely turn things around here. It could provide a brief moment of support, kind of like how it did in January before it goes back down towards 200. I think a back test of the 200 will be great, but we kind of already got that when the price broke through in August.
Exactly.
Went up to 215, found resistance there, and then back tested the 200. So I'm not sure that we'll, 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure that we'll see that 200-day estimate back test, but I do like 215 for support. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, and Jay Rice here says, I doubt you see 215 in my opinion. I'll be a buyer at 220. Okay. So if you wanted to maybe not be as conservative, make sure you don't miss it. 220 might also be a spot. Good stuff there, Jay.
Yeah, and Jay, you know what? I don't think I'm going to have to even bother arguing with that because we're talking like a $5 difference in a $230 stock. I'm right there with you. 220 is another psychological level that could certainly provide support.
2%, give or take on that, just from the napkin math. Okay, I'm not here to argue facts. Suggested IGV. We've talked about the SaaS apocalypse. We've talked about some of these software names. IGV is a good chart to review here. Here's the thing I'm going to start with. So first of all, IGV up 3.5% today. But don't forget, we've been talking about IGV for a while. We do have this head and shoulders formation. Now, the last time that we traded up here, this was at the beginning of June, we traded back down and it looked like that formed our right shoulder and perhaps we would break this neckline and end up moving lower. Now, we've come back up to this area. So perhaps this is a resistance area, perhaps, or maybe we can invalidate this pattern here. So I'll be very curious to see how IGV trades not only today, but for the rest of this week and next week into September. See what IGV does here. Otherwise, it looks like today's move, this is a move that took us back above the 20. And again, I really kind of think this puts 107, maybe even 108 on deck as a resistance area.
So with regard to the head and shoulders pattern, I'd still say for now it's intact because if you look at the left shoulder, there were two different peaks, and now we're having two different peaks on the right shoulder,
and one was slightly lower than the other. Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm not going to write off the head and shoulders pattern yet, but we do have a bit of a break of trend. So we'll see how this ends up trading here today. I'd be keeping an eye on 110. If we start closing over that and going higher into the 110s, I think we're going to get our invalidation. And there's also this golden cross here that we just had in the middle of August that could help along with that. So I'm not going to say that we're invalidated yet, but it's starting to look like there's a greater possibility that it could be.
Okay, and then Seth was asking about STX right ahead of the open here. Seth, all the memory names are trading higher on the back of that report. They basically said that they're supply constrained. They're going to keep going after these memory chips. It basically just confirms the cycle going into 2027 or 2028. Here's STX, Micron, and SanDisk. These were also trading up on the back of this report yesterday.
Oh, hey, Wisdom.
Wisdom's back?
It says Wisdom's joined.
Oh my goodness, we've got Wisdom back. All right, we are open. Synopsis, first move up out of the gate. CrowdStrike. First move was up out of the gate, although that might have been in the pre-market. CrowdStrike might be trying to go higher here. We'll see. PPCB, which was one of our movers here, that's battling with the VWAP as we speak.
Yeah. And I know there was a question about SpaceX. They were supposed to have a static test fire yesterday. They apparently ran into some issue. I don't know what it was, but they scrubbed the static test fire. They're going to try again today. They have beach closure from 6:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. So it could happen at any point in that range today. I got off the stream yesterday, switched over to that to see if they were starting to do it, and I was watching them confirm that they scrubbed the static test fire for yesterday. So hopefully we get to do it today. So in order to make that monthly cadence launch of Starship Flight 14.
Okay, and SpaceX right now trying to battle and go through the VWAP. Okay, I'm seeing a bunch of NVIDIA call flow here. NVIDIA through the VWAP. We'll see if this takes out the pre-market high. Again, that's in a 226 handle. Lots of repeat call flow here. And this is all, a lot of these are short term. They're all for this week.
Looks like we have some of the quantum names moving up out of the gate. Well, I guess INFQ was moving up out of the gate.
Yeah, someone was mentioning that earlier. I didn't get a chance to look at it though.
Well, it's dropping right now.
Okay.
An Ionic popped up to its pre-market high. That's starting to come back in here. We'll see if it can hold the VWAP. Chewy was selling off yesterday. It looks like it dropped out of the gate here, trying to recapture the 65 EMA. CoreWeave, this is losing its 200 EMA as we speak. This just started dropping as we approach the open, coming down to some support. Actually, if you look at the high of yesterday, the price just came right down to that and is getting support. So that $90 area might be, beneath it might be a good spot for support. We'll see if that holds up.
Good mention. By the way, the entire market moving down out of the open. SPY moving lower here. S&P futures still green. SPY still green. NASDAQ moving lower here. We'll see if that finds any support. I'll be honest, for the purpose of trading, I kind of like a little dip out of the open here. Yeah, Ondas traded up out of the gate. Saw that too. That thing's been whacked recently. So basically any up move is basically just retracing some of the move down.
All right, let's see here.
More NVIDIA options still just coming across the tape here. Lots and lots of call sweeps. Some put sweeps as well. It's not exclusively calls. And then Jay mentioned, don't forget Nutanix, right? That's NTNX. Nutanix. This reported earnings after hours. This actually going for the after hours high right here. Marvell falling from grace, says JJ. Now that's interesting. We actually talked about NVIDIA falling a little bit ahead of its earnings. Marvell traded up in sympathy with the earnings yesterday. They report after hours here today. I'm curious to see how Marvell does today.
I had a great report from Dollar General, but they are selling into their up move. Maybe after the selling, they start to see a turnaround here. But this ran up to a little bit more than 140 in the pre-market off their earnings, and now it's pretty much given the majority, if not all of that back. So we'll see if it gets support down around 125.
Didn't Dollar Tree also report?
Let's see. I don't know.
Yeah, it did. Dollar Tree, the exact opposite. That sold off and is bouncing back here.
So if it's selling into the open, it's going to rise, and if it's rising into the open, it's down. Today's opposite day, folks.
Here we go. Market trying to hold 767. That 767.48 was a key level for a long time. I almost wonder if that's the day low here today. Stop me if you've heard this before. More NVIDIA call sweeps.
doing?
CrowdStrike, this is above the high from the, above the impulse high from the earnings report in the after hours yesterday. Oh, man.
So we are under 223. I mean, it's still the very, very beginning of the day, so this could climb right back over it. But it is finding resistance after filling that. I guess it filled the gap right out of the open. Is that what happened? Let me look here. There was a, let's see, where's that? So yeah, we did pop up to fill that gap. And that took us up to 225.50. So now we're selling. And if we continue to sell, there's I guess there's support at 220, and you have the 20-day SMA right beneath it at 216.87.
All right.
Palantir is going to be hot today. 180 is to be exhausted soon.
Palantir traded up right out of the open. Here's your Palantir chart.
Yeah, so it was hitting 180 last Friday. Here we are on Thursday, back up testing that again. Like I've said before, if you continue to hammer a level, eventually it'll break. I don't know if it does it today, maybe tomorrow, but like I said, if it continues to hammer that level, yeah, it's like you put it, get exhausted, and it'll fold, and then we'll see, start closing over 180. So let's see what we get.
Palantir, that was a good call there, G-Man. One up for that. Palantir continues to trade higher. Webull, this is actually selling off after being higher in the pre-market. I did hear yesterday, Ben said he's bullish on Webull. Ben from Story Trading, bullish on Webull. This taking a little bit of a pullback, but so far holding yesterday's intraday lows. Figma is being mentioned here in the chat by Lance. Figma having also a nice move here up out of the open.
Coming up into that February and March consolidation right at the same area where that 500-day SMA is. So I'd say as you approach 29 to 30, you're going to run into some resistance here. You're kind of at some resistance right now. But we are printing slightly higher than some of those previous levels. So I feel like this is going to either break out, like you said, or we're going to continue to see rejection in that 30 area. I don't have any other angle than just what I'm looking at here, but it looks like it's trying to turn around. You got a bit of a double bottom here, so it's looking pretty good. I think it's a very nice double bottom actually for Figma. You've got that bottoming around. What is it? Just about 1650, 17 almost. So,
and the other thing that I kind of want to point out here, just kind of looking at an extended daily chart, we talk a lot about these IPO life cycles, about how they end up trading up on IPO day, then they like to come back in and base, and then you get a real move. Well, to me, it sure looks like Figma might be starting to do that here. We traded up off the IPO. We've come back in. It sure looks like we've kind of based. You highlighted the double bottom. Now it looks like we're curling back up off of that. So maybe Figma is in more of a bullish trend now. This would be one to watch.
Yeah, I think that it needs to snap that 500-day SMA. We have not traded above that since March. So, and I think that the consolidation from March and February is still going to, be a bit of an issue. But if we continue with the volume, and we're going through those levels.
Palo Alto, this is higher off the back of that CrowdStrike report from yesterday. As a reminder, Palo Alto reports earnings in 5 days. That is going to be September 1st, Tuesday, September 1st, after the market closes. Ondas is hot. That is up out of the gate. I saw IDAI popped out of the gate. By the way, we got a little bit of a hint that maybe something is coming on IDAI. High risk. I wouldn't chase it. But for those of you that are holding it, we might have some news coming in the future, perhaps.
You continue to have insiders buy this thing. I know it's not substantially large amounts, but it's still happening. There's a snap of a trend line here as well, and we're also climbing over the 500-day SMA right now. The thing is that we've been up here multiple times above 330, and just haven't been able to close above that since February or January, one of the two. So would like to see a close finally above 330 in IDAI if we're going to continue higher. And maybe there's some news coming, like you said, that could accelerate it further.
And the other thing about these insider buys, you mentioned that they're not huge insider buys, but some of the due diligence that our group has done in Happy Hour has kind of looked into the company and the people that work there. And the realization is that it's not as if these people have like tons of money already. Like this is their shot. So to me, when I see this buying here by a bunch of different ones, it tells me that they do think this is going to move higher. And if these aren't people that aren't sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars from previous endeavors, this is one that they want to see work. So this is absolutely encouraging, 13, like you said, despite the low totals for some of those insider buys. It's insider buying nonetheless. There's only one reason for it.
And one other thing that we've been discussing when it comes to the T-stamp, and even when we were listening to NVIDIA's earnings call, sovereign AI is a phrase that is getting said a lot more these days. And I think that is going to, we're going to be seeing a lot in that theme. Pretty soon. I think IDAI is going to, be one of the beneficiaries of that.
I think you're probably right on that. You're probably right on that. All right, here's the cues, by the way. We sold off out of the gate. We are bouncing here. It'd be interesting to see if we can get back above the VWAP, and if we can somehow break out of this pre-market structure here, that could be game on for the cues. SPY, by the way, also bouncing, looking like that's going to recapture the VWAP. S&P futures also battling with the VWAP. SPY is through the VWAP here now. See if S&P futures can follow.
And Daniel is mentioning PPCB. This came down to about 315, found some support. Now it's trying to turn around here. And then you just mentioned that the Qs are turning around. So if we're getting the market to turn around, this may also move along with that. We'll see if that's if we end up getting that here. There's also a little bit of a trend line we can draw from that 444 high through the session high. That gives the trend line to snap. We'll see if that happens. That could take us to 420. Don't get excited, wisdom. And if we manage to hold above that, we're going to maybe snap that 444 high that we put in the pre-market.
Okay. we are risk on here according to the index gates. Qs are in a bullish trend with an edge. The SPY is in a bullish trend, although that has been making lower lows in the pre-market. See if the SPY gets rejected here and moves back lower, that might be all right for a put trade. We'll see. We shall see. All right.
Looks like WNW had a brief pop up to VWAP, and now it's coming back in, losing the 65 EMA in the process, but it found support around 325. So lots of back and forth there with that one.
CRM, Jay mentioning CRM here, 240s for CRM. That is a mover. That is straight up out of the gate. Synopsys, by the way, doing the same thing. SNPS, this thing also just kind of ripping out of the gate here. Palantir straight up out of the gate. Great call by G-Man earlier. Tesla at the highs. Palo Alto at the highs. NVIDIA still curling, looking like that is trying to move towards the highs.
Ooh, Nutanix, that was a big pop and then a nasty drop. This now losing the 200 EMA on the 5-minute, coming down to some support levels from the regular session yesterday.
Dara here says, I have a limit order to sell a stock. I said it last night. It's currently well above that price, and it's still not selling at my price. We're in the regular session now. Check the order and make sure it's not a good till an extended hours trade. I know in my broker I have to specify whether it's an extended session or a New York session. That might be why. I would just re-examine the order, Dara.
Yeah, and it may be a matter of just redoing the order or canceling, and if it's higher, then manage it that way. But if you're not getting your fill, that would, like Ryan said, re-examine the order, see what the parameters are for that. If it's extended hours only, then that's probably why it didn't sell.
Right. Guys, SPY is moving here. So my bot did not take this trade because there was no break of structure that it could identify, which is one of the catalysts for it. But we are risk on here. IWM looking good. Q's looking good. SPY in a bull trend now after this reversal. We are through the VWAP. SPY trying to move higher here.
We had a run into the open for inflection that dropped out of the gate, found support at the 65 EMA. Now it's recapturing the VWAP.
Okay, that is inflection. Just going to take a quick peek at the list here. CRM still continues to rip. SoFi, this is a dip and rip. MSTR on the scanner here. MicroStrategy trading up to its pre-market high. Bitcoin actually at the day lows here today. Tesla, Palantir, Ondas, Palo Alto, all at highs. VIX getting melted back into a 14 handle.
Yeah, Buffalo, I wanted to say something to that effect, but I can't tell people what to do with their account.
What?
He was saying cancel it and sell it with regard to the
oh, yeah.
I can't say that, but that's I'd probably do something like that.
Micron calls. Let's check those memory names. I know we took a brief look at them earlier. Boy, all things seem to be moving in the positive direction. Dow has gone red to green. NASDAQ obviously up by 1%. SPY up by 0.5%. Those both looking like they're trying to push higher here.
That 50-day SMA is still Micron's bane right now. Just can't seem to catch a break with that. Been dealing with this moving average for most of the month.
Boy, Micron gave everything back. Did STX do the same thing? I know we got asked about that earlier. STX red. Boy, these memory names gave it all back after those comments drove them higher yesterday. Synopsys, new high, 437.97. Oh, my heavens. What a move there in SPY. For Apple, you're asking, have we talked about Apple? Yeah, we did. Here's my thought on Apple, and I've been talking about this for a little bit. I actually see a potential upside gap fill move in Apple. If I go back to a bigger chart here, you'll get an idea of where we're kind of hanging out with respect to some of these larger moving averages that we constantly take a look at. And here's what it looks like. We are basically crammed right on top of the 20 and the 50. And the last two times that this setup happened, right here, back in the beginning of July, thing moved from 296 to 340 plus. The last time this happened was going to be back right about here. And it moved from about 270 to 317. So I kind of think that if Apple doesn't break down here, which is one of the things I'd be watching, I wouldn't be surprised if you have a 320 test and then a gap fill up to the 340s.
There is a series of sellers trying to lock down PPCB, it looks like. They just keep stacking up sell orders as the price drops down. So just wait for entry potentially on this one. Looks like it's going to try and come down to $3.
Okay. See if we get that. C Boogie's asking me if Warsh's comments tomorrow will give the gain back. I don't know, but what we should do is instead we should take a look at the Trump statement generator, because that's likely to have more impact. So let's see what we could possibly get here. One day we're going to build a wall facing North Korea. Many people are saying this. The market doesn't like it. -1 on the sentiment there. So I would say that bodes poorly for Warsh. That's a joke, by the way, just because I can't predict the future. By the way, your PPCB still on its way back into 3.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, this is
UiPath ripping straight up out of the gate. Okay, I see you.
This is we're still getting some interesting price action here on the SPY. We did close beneath the 20-day SMA yesterday. We're trying to pull back above it today. I wonder if we get better volume now that we've got NVIDIA out of the way. Probably not, would be my guess.
Compared to yesterday, SPY's volume looks to be double in the early session. But to your point, 13, let's see where we're at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Ross says, I wanted to say thank you, Ryan. I've started my own bot running all week, set on one share, and it's working, and I'm up 15% on the week. Nice. Running 3 strategies off a scanner I got AI to build. Ross, that is awesome. I'd actually like to hear more specifics about that if you're willing to share. I'll drop my email here. I think what I've noticed is that this whole bot project has really kind of forced me to like listen to things that I wouldn't have listened to. I can tell you right now, there's a lot to learn from each other in this. So congrats to you. I hope that continues. One thing that I've learned, things can change quickly. So give it some time. And if are you real trading already? Because there's a shift. If you move from paper to real trading, the actual fills are going to change the experience there. So be sure to test that. Really good stuff. Keep at it, boss.
There's a mention on Meta. We did close above the 20-day SMA yesterday, but we got rejected by the 50-day SMA. So as long as we hold above that 20, and there's another, we have a good shot at hitting the 50-day SMA again and trying for a breakthrough. It's a tough moving average. It's been providing resistance ever since we lost that moving average back toward the end of July. Has not been able to provide a whole lot of upside beyond that. So that currently is the big resistance there. That, and I would say 600.
Okay. Meta, hold it in here. Picasso Bro, Ryan, I've heard you talk about the bot making trades for you. Can you elaborate? Yeah, I basically used Grok Build to build an automated trading bot. It's running 5 different strategies. And the goal here is for me to be able to press start in the morning, go do something else, whether it be work or golf, and then press stop in the afternoon and have it just trade for me. It's going well. It's definitely a learning experience. It's not totally ready yet. I'm still kind of working out some kinks and tuning it, but it has been just an eye-opening project for me. One of the better things that I've ever done.
You can ask about Mint Corporation Limited. The ticker is MIMI, M-I-M-I.
Yeah, that was on the movers list this morning.
Yeah, this having a good open here, just kind of ramping up. You look on a daily chart, there is you have the 200-day SMA, which it ran up to and is currently finding some resistance, but it's looking like it's moving through it now.
Oh yeah.
But on the 5-minute chart, there's a trend from yesterday, the regular session. I'm sorry, actually, this is all in the after hours. You see those highs in the after hours there, the 2 peaks.
Sure
do. You draw a trend line with that, and that kind of gives you a target of around 415 to 420. No guarantee it goes up there, but kind of gives you a little bit of a target to shoot for. Let's see if there's anything that matches up with that on the daily. Come on, chart. So in the past, every time that we've opened above that, where we're at, above, I would say 3, it seems to just want to sell off. At least that's what it's been doing lately. There was one day where it opened down here under 3, and it just ripped all the way up to about 732 or 35. We'll see what happens here. I mean, that 200-day SMA, I think I'd be concerned about, on a daily basis. But that trend line, it might get hit and then come back in. Can't say for sure, but that's something I'd be keeping an eye on.
Yep. Can you elaborate on the strategies? Yeah, it's running a 0 DTE scalp strategy. So it's trying to trade the SPY and the Qs using 0 DTEs on a regular basis. It also has a gap down and gap up strategy designed for news. I came up with that after the Moderna news. It's basically looking for a move higher and then a pullback base and a curl to trade it. And it's also looking for that on a pullback. So like some of these stocks that pull back on earnings, if they start to curl back up, it's going to try and trade that to the upside. There's also a multi-time frame cloud strategy, as well as a cloud curl strategy involved in that. And I have a morning break of structure strategy as well. Ross here says, when I'm watching, it got scary, a key lock when I'm away from the computer. 2 tips for you, Ross. If you have a dashboard that monitors its performance, consider adding controls to that so you can very easily pause things if things get hairy, like, for example, after Fed meetings. Pro tip, learn that the hard way. Also, you might want to consider coding in a option that it doesn't trade during certain time periods, and you should just be able to toggle that on and off. That might also be able to allow you to really quickly leave without disrupting the rest of the bot. Okay, we'll see if Mimi goes to that. Let's take a look around here and see what else is going on. The SPY is just all over the damn place. This thing went higher, pulled all the way back and then ripped higher again. Still did not have a break of structure on that to the upside, unfortunately. Yeah, and really quickly, the zero DTE strategy only runs, there's 2 windows, and the second window ends at 10:20 in the morning. Because you don't want to hold those zero DTE contracts in the afternoon. They're just going to decay, and you're going to get wiped out.
Looks like Bitcoin went down to 79,000, found some support, trying to turn around now. We'll see if it can recapture the 65 EMA and give us a little bit more risk on. Slow movement here in a lot of these movers we're taking a look at here.
Yeah,
at least some of them.
Yeah, the movers seem to be kind of second fiddle today to some of the bigger cap names.
Meanwhile, Cypherpunk having a good day here. That's up 22%. It might run into some resistance just above 2, like it did a few days ago on Monday. So keep that in mind for a resistance area. It looks like $2 could find some sellers. And when I look at the price ladder, I see a pretty good sized seller stacked at 203. So
good looking volume on this name too, right out of the open, Cypherpunk. Billy mentioning Vive, that also reported earnings last night. That's Viva Systems. This is higher here by 20% here today. Boy, nice little gap and go on this. They sold memory and bought dips in Microsoft and other software names like Now, which is also getting mentioned here. That's a good mention, Jay. Synopsys continues to pound the highs, 442 now. Boy, oh boy, that thing is straight up out of the gate.
That's a nice guide. Well above the midpoint.
I'm also seeing Micron puts get bought right now.
So this is like a, it's a life sciences cloud. That's cool. Keep an eye on this one. Looks like we're starting to get some better volume in PPCB. We'll see if it can get back above the VWAP. Still a lot of sellers stacked in the way here, though. Meanwhile, Nutanix is still getting support from the 200 EMA, but resistance from the 65 EMA and some of the other moving averages. VWAP is still up at 7080. Looks like it's trying to push through to get up to VWAP right now. Still a lot of sideways consolidation that's going to have to deal with after losing that level, and that consolidation is mostly from the pre-market here.
Yeah, Nutanix right back to that level there. By the way, SPY again reversing. Are we having fun yet? NASDAQ, same deal. That's actually new day lows on NASDAQ. So you can see the kind of the back and forth action here we're getting on SPY and NASDAQ.
We're getting asked about Netflix.
Alan wants to, he's looking for a level, I think. Let me bring it up on the bigger chart. Oh, excuse me.
I just was trying to get an idea of when this this Grand Theft Auto 6 thing. I don't know exactly what this is with Netflix, but I think they're coming out with some kind of reveal. I don't know exactly what the special is here. An extended look at Grand Theft Auto 6 that happens tonight. I don't know if this is going to be, if this is going to really, do much for Netflix. It probably will do more for Take-Two, if anything.
Yeah.
But let's look at let's see if I can get your question answered here.
I was just going to look at the same thing. And Marcus, good luck on your draft tonight.
Oh,
I'm curious to hear what you say on this. I've got a thought here too.
So it looks to me like this area back in June where it was, it started to drop and then it went a little bit sideways before dropping again on June 16th. That's the area we're kind of dealing with right now. And the high of that area is about 82.50. Price went up there this week, turned around. Now we're trying to hold support at the 79.50 area. It looks to me like if this 79.50 is lost, you're going to get a move down to that 77 area that you mentioned near the 20-day SMA. It does look like that's going to, that could happen to me. And if we do lose that 79.50, I think that's where your support's going to most likely land, somewhere between 77 and 78.
Yeah, I'm thinking here that what you really don't want to see coughed up is this area in between the 50 and the 20. I've got the 50 at 74.55 and the 20 at 77, like 13 was just talking about. This area here, this really needs to hold. I would imagine if this breaks at all, Alan, you're probably coming back into the 65s. I think it retests that low. So I think on any pullback here, you want this area to hold. And if you think that's going to keep moving higher here, that's one of your ad spots. I think you can get this right off the daily chart.
Looks like.
All right, Okta came back into VWAP here. Let me actually go back to my main chart. My bot did take some of this, so we'll see if this trade ends up working here. Here's Okta. You can see this was trying to move higher here, came back into the VWAP. So far, it is holding this area. We'll see what we get here on Okta. OKTA.
I like the mention here by Lucy. I have been, mentioning the moves in the past few days since we had that big move on Monday. It is now trading over it opened and is now trading over the 200-day SMA. And if we close above that 200-day SMA, I think that is quite notable because we have not had a close above the 200-day SMA since
What value do you have for that? What's the value for that 200?
The 200-day SMA is 110.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been nearly 2 years since we've actually closed above this moving average. We've opened above it, we've traded above it, but we've never closed above it since December of 2024.
Okay, that would be a key thing to watch for here today. Can we close above that 110 area? Mm-hmm. You got it, Alan. Thanks for joining us, by the way. Thanks for all your support. You've been great.
I appreciate you, man. It is choppy, isn't it, Anne-Marie? It's lots of back and forth.
Anne-Marie, just out of curiosity, I know we're going to talk to you tomorrow. We can't wait. The group can't wait. But when it's choppy like this, is this just kind of a sit out? Are you more patient? Do you just not participate? How do you handle choppiness like this? Or I can imagine her response is, well, I sell an iron condor.
There you go.
Let's see, what else do we have here? Corey, I saw that you mentioned PURR Hyperliquid hit a new all-time high. They have earnings this morning. There was also talk about, Hyperliquid being brought to the United States by the Trump administration. I'm sure that's playing into it as well.
Nutanix having a good turnaround here above the 65 EMA now, trying to challenge that VWAP. That's at 70.73, at least that's what my VWAP is. Still managing its way through the sideways consolidation from the pre-market and after hours. Kind of wondering if we see some more resistance here at the VWAP based on the way the volume looks here. We get some volume expansion, we're going through it, but if we don't, then we're probably going to get rejected there.
Marcus, Ryan, can the bot pick my team? No, but now you've given me a really terrible idea. And what this means is that I'm probably going to build a analytical fantasy football tool tonight while I'm watching preseason games because of you, Marcus. That's what you've done here.
September 3rd. Here we go. You got a week.
Oh,
I'm sure we're going to all be using AI to make our selections this year.
The ideas that I have just floating around my skull right now because of Marcus's comment is I really need to slow him down. Marcus, I appreciate you a lot.
Take all the big YouTubers that know their stuff with fantasy football and throw them through Grok.
Bro, I am gonna have Grok and Claude scrape the web for APIs to things like PFF and try to just aggregate stat. I got several ideas.
Your draft grade, C.
So I won my league and ESPN graded my draft a C last year. So
That's funny.
that's not even gonna bother me. Just lightened up my IWM short, says Chris.
I'm not here to argue facts. I'm a Texans fan when my team isn't playing, because they're the local team for me. So that's why. And I'm not really looking at them as being, that great of a team. But maybe they'll surprise me this year. But I always support my local team.
Nikhil saying you have to pay to get API data. Challenge accepted. Let me see what I can scrape first.
Looks like we're getting a turnaround here in CoreWeave. It's coming back up to VWAP.
All right.
MSTR going? Oh.
Yeah, we actually looked at MSTR, and I was surprised because earlier MSTR was higher whilst Bitcoin was lower. Now, Bitcoin is bouncing off of the 79,000 handle here, so maybe that's kind of adding some fuel to the fire here with MicroStrategy. But look at this expanding volume move up on MSTR.
Give us a 200-day SMA test. That would take us up to about 142.50. Still about $9, a little more than $9 away. And I think that would be a pretty good, a reasonable price to do whatever you're going to trade. If you're going to take gains, you can take gains. But it's it's over 71 RSI on the daily, so it still could push up a little bit higher. This isn't the highest RSI it's ever had, but it is coming up to a major area, a major moving average that's provided resistance since we lost it. I haven't been able to really even trade above it since October last year. So this would be a significant retest. Haven't had any interaction with this moving average in a very long while, almost a year.
That's interesting. Bhavesh asking me what is considered a good annual return for professional traders. I'm not. Let me just to be clear here. I know we do this show here and everything. I'm not a professional trader, guys. I am absolutely classified as a retail trader. In fact, I am a little guy just like you folks. I'm just a nerd when it comes to stocks. You might want to ask Anne Marie. I would say she's more of a professional than I am by a long shot. Maybe ask Mark Petrino. You know what, Bhavesh, if you're around tomorrow, let's ask Mark Petrino that. I bet he'll have good data on that. I don't want to just make up a number for the sake of making up a number. I don't consider myself a professional. I'm a regular guy trying to figure it out just like you folks.
Yeah, in my view, professionals tend to carry some kind of accreditation or some kind of certification, and I've just done everything from experience. So I don't ever view myself as a professional trader. I'm retail.
And I think one of the other things that I really, really love about this profession and just about the market in general is that you can be a professional, and that's great. And there's a lot of stuff that you can do. But the market will also reward just regular folk and individuals. If you have strong conviction and you've done your research, this is an arena that you can play in and really, really help yourself. And I like that it doesn't discriminate. It's not just the professionals. There's a lot of talk out there about hedge funds. They're the only ones that make money. Pros are the only. It's not true. It's not true. This is a great field for folks to get into.
Yeah, they do it differently too. I mean, hedge funds will just buy a whole bunch of stuff and just wait to see what works. And then when it comes time to have to get rid of the losers, they use those as tax loss, harvesting. So
and here we go, Jay. I didn't ask you for permission, so I hope I'm not stepping out of line here. Jay, you used to be a professional trader in a former life, correct? Pro traders need to beat the indexes by at least 10%.
That can be a very tall ask.
Yeah. That's true. Also, Nikhil said SPY is doing crazy things. Folks, look at this. I have a 5-minute time frame here. Every candle is the opposite color, and every candle is like taking out the range of the previous candle. Just bonkers back and forth here.
NTNX, Newtonex, this back up to the VWAP. Looking good, but this is the third green candle in a row that we're seeing here. So I would think that there could be some resistance coming soon. and now it's teetering on being green and red. So if this rejection at the VWAP ends up happening, then we'll see if the $70 even, that area right there, or maybe even the 65 EMA down at 69.50 provides support if the price comes back in.
Okay. Jay says, no, Ryan, I was a broker at Maryland Smith Barney. Okay. I appreciate you. And I'm sorry. I know that you had a professional career in the field, but I can't remember exactly what it was. And I didn't want to ruin anything private on that. So thank you for that.
Hi, Coley. Hey, look at this. WNW. Sorry to interrupt you. WNW.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That's what I'm looking for.
Smashed right through VWAP, and this is going on a little bit of a run right now. Coming up to some of that consolidation in the pre-market.
Hey. So this held the 200 EMA and curled through the VWAP. See if it has any continuation here.
And here we go. Folks now starting to see that. GP Gary, WNW. Yeah. Billy, scalp to 4. All right. All right. And what else is looking good here? I mean, Bitcoin looks like that's holding at 65 EMA. If we do get a test of that and it turns around, let's see if we can get back up to 80,000.
Yep. Tesla looks like that's curling back up to the highs. Palantir looks like 184.88 was your high. That pulled back a little bit, but might be trying to still move higher. NVIDIA about to break its intraday structure and then test that pre-market high. Here we go. Anne-Marie dropping more nuggets of awesomeness. I established the trend on the 30-minute, and then if it's trending higher like it is today, I will buy dips and sell the top of the range. So Anne-Marie, so I had asked you what you were doing. How do you deal with SPY? This is a great answer. This really is. So establish a trend on the 30-minute, and then if it's trending higher like it is, you're looking to just buy dips. And the SPY, I'm sorry about my chart not cooperating here. The SPY has given you multiple dips here today. And then basically as soon as it comes back to the top end of the range, you're selling. Now, what I will notice here is that the range looks like it's compressing a little bit as we continue to fill out 5-minute candles here. And I'm wondering if this compression leads to a break in one direction or another. Oh, yes. And bless up. 767.45 is likely the 4 range for SPY. Does that number ring a bell, folks? Well, it should, because that was a previous all-time high breakout level, if I'm not mistaken. 767.40 something. We talked about this number a whole lot. Let me figure out. Yeah, it was this. It's this low. It was the low from Thursday, August 6th. 767.46 was that low. That was determining our sideways range. And if we can break back above that, then we're in the next leg higher here. Sorry, 13, get in there.
767.50. That we talked a lot about that level in the happy hour, and we lost it last week. That has been the resistance up until today. That's 767.50. You've been trading up to it, getting rejected. You have Thursday, August 20th happened, Friday that happened, and yesterday that happened. And now we've finally broken back above it. So yeah, I absolutely agree with her. That very same area is now going to be, I would view that as support.
Okay. Ross, are you still out there? I got 17 minutes left here, but I just thought of something else that I want to recommend to your bot project. And this goes for anyone else that wants to do this too, by the way. Ross, let me know if you're out there. I don't want to say it unless you're there. Okta, this is working. This is absolutely curling back up to the highs. 169.53 is the breakout spot. Okay, Ross, you're there. So here, check this out. Let me do this here real quick. This will only take a second. Okay. So real quick, here is the bot. This is the dashboard for the bot that I have coded. You can see that I'm in one trade right now. I'm in the Okta trade. It's working. That's great. Here's my suggestion for you. You'll notice that one of my cards on my dashboard here is close calls, and the bot has seen 160 close calls. I would highly recommend that you add something like this to your journal, because when you do a post-mortem on the day for what took place here. You want to be able to review those close calls. This will keep a log. I have some more like informative stuff in here, just like stats on the actual stocks, but I also have a raw feed of exactly why a particular trade was or was not taken. In this case, was not. You can see here, synopsis, it tried to buy this, but it could not overcome the slippage of the price. Some of these break of structures here, they just simply weren't ready. Have your bot log all trades that are almost taken so that you can make fine-tune adjustments based on actual data, not just based on anecdotes or what you remember. Let the bot log all of this and then have it review that so you can continue to sharpen it. I found out after I did this that this was actually one of the best things to help my bot learn what did it do right and what did it do incorrectly, and then make it better from there. So highly, highly advised that you do something similar on yours.
The FNS, one that we were looking at earlier this week, I believe, this is having a pretty good day here, up a few bucks, coming up to some supply from earlier this week.
This is DFNS. Did I get the ticker right in there? I got something going on with my search bar here.
And Nutanix is having trouble with that VWAP, so we are coming back in a little bit now. If we do get that support that I mentioned earlier, around 70, 69 to 50 to 70, where that 65 EMA is, that'd be great. And the next visit up could take us through VWAP. Volume needs to be better though.
Corey, I know that you're not closing the trade out, at least not completely, but I'm going to give you a register anyway for the 100% gain in Pure. By the way, Corey touted Pure to our happy hour group weeks ago, and then we heard some news about it. So Corey, really good thesis that you've had there, really good conviction. Congratulations. I'm glad that you're up 100% on that. That's fantastic. Lacey is saying, Ryan, what platform do you use for the bot? So I used Grok Build to actually create an application. So like on my MacBook, I created my own icon. It's an application that sits on my dock, and it basically runs a Python code and then runs in terminal. But it's its own application. There's literally a folder of files that the AI tool created. It's not, I think that's what you're asking when you ask about platform.
Where's your fair value on PPCB? Because it looks like we're coming down to a support area around 3. And if this doesn't hold, then you have a support area down at the 65 EMA, which is at 230.
Okay, so let's see here. PPCB, you're asking for a fair value gap. The only fair value gap that I had was in here in the pre-market. I do have kind of a wide one on this base candle here, but to me, this one is... The math tells you that there's a gap there. This is not one that I would actually trade. So 13, to answer your question, it looks like that is about right in here. I would not utilize this for a fair value gap trade.
Well, then it looks like this is, let's see what happens at 3. And if it loses that, then the 65 EMA, this is, the top mover this morning, giving a lot back now. Yeah. But we'll see if it ends up doing better later on in the morning.
Yeah. You said Grok Build. Yeah, I used Grok Build. You can use Claude. You can use Perplexity. It doesn't matter. I'm convinced that whatever tool you use to build it doesn't matter. What matters is the strategies. Zero's asking, what kind of success rate have you gotten with the bot? So it varies, and I'm still not done. I definitely need more data. I deploy a new version almost every night, and I'm constantly tuning based off that close call log that I just showed you. Yesterday, I was down $9, and I had a 26% win rate. Other days, I've had a 60% win rate and been up $400. And keep in mind, I'm only trading 100 shares or max notional value of 25 grand per position.
CoreWeave looking for 90. Had a nice rebound after hitting 86.85.
Look at this. Oh, man, look at this curl on CoreWeave. Mm-hmm. And you know what, CoreWeave, this would have been one. This wasn't on, I don't think this was on my break of structure list. Let me check real quick because this type of action, this is one of my current projects right now. I see this all the time. 13, how many times do you see moves down with a curl like this that actually makes for a great trade? I feel like this is a daily occurrence in most cases.
Yeah, you get this like overselling and then it rebounds and it sends the momentum back up, but it's not, a lot of times you don't ever see this, completely recover. It just gets up to the next resistance level. And then everybody sells out and says, thanks, we'll see you later.
Yeah, this is one of the patterns that we see repeated over and over again that I'm trying to build a strategy around. But 13 just highlighted something really important. It doesn't always go to targets. Sometimes it's just a scalp. So there's just an added level of difficulty in having a machine trade that correctly. But I'm currently working on that. Mimi, this was one of the movers that you talked about earlier, just shy of 3. This is holding up, though. It's holding at the VWAP. Judge, take care of yourself.
Take care, Judge.
This news here, Amazon is adding 2 million NVIDIA GPUs even as it builds its own chips. All that tells me, Kenneth, is that everything Jensen said yesterday is actually true. That's what that tells me. They're going to keep using those chips. It doesn't matter. Open, closed, company, it doesn't matter. They're going to keep you. NVIDIA is at the center of AI.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
That just kind of confirms that Amazon is actually lower here today. Amazon down 1.2%.
Looks like we're still climbing in some of these quantum names, but running into the resistance from earlier. The MNR, it's trying to climb back over the 65 EMA. The last time it did that in this session, it was met with another red candle. It took it back down to the 200. And let's see if WNW can make another move through VWAP this time.
Jensen puts his pants on like any other man, only when he puts his pants on, diner stock prices double. I love the Christopher Walken Blue Oyster Cult Saturday Night Live reference that you just put in here with Jensen as the subject. That is well crafted, Alan. You have to wake up pretty early in the morning to get one past me, but I caught that one. I put my pants on one day at a time. The only difference is when I put my pants on, I make gold records. That is one of the best Saturday Night Live skits of all time, by the way. Shout out to you. We'll give you a 1-up for that, too.
WNW pushing through VWAP. We're trying to.
One leg at a time. You're right. You don't put pants on one day at a time, producer. That would be terrible. I put my pants on one leg at a time. Thank you, producer. See, what would we do without you? I don't know what we would do without the producer.
We would not produce. And NTNX looking like this is coming back up to its VWAP. What's that?
Producer said it would be a long week. That's the answer to the question. He's right about that. NTNX, sorry, I'll try to get my head back in the game here.
NTNX, if we get some more volume expansion, it looks like we can push through VWAP here. Just need that volume component. It's trying to hit that VWAP again. 2 times now we've pushed above VWAP only to come back in. But we're not coming back in as much as we did the previous time so far. 65 EMA is going to be the support if we do lose the smaller EMAs. And
NVIDIA call sweeps kicking back up again here. NVIDIA's near the highs. Now, it never made it through the pre-market high, but this might not be done yet. And then here, Anne Marie, I love that you're giving this early here before we end the show here. I don't really have an opinion on Marvell. Dips are buys, but not worth chasing under the backdrop of Warsh's comments tomorrow. Sell puts at 200 if you have to take a position. Okay, I like that too, Anne Marie.
Yeah, a lot of eyes going to be on Warsh.
Yep, you got that right.
And they're going to really look for internationally too, and analysts, banks, they're going to look for credibility in what he says, because right now they don't think that he's very credible. So we'll see what he ends up saying if that changes their attitude. It's going to be an important meeting.
Yeah, it is. I think this is going to be one of the more important ones, honestly. SPY, maybe we're trying to break out of this and go towards 770, excuse me. And actually, let's take a quick look at Marvell ahead of the earnings here tonight. Okay, so this basically gave back the sympathy gap that it created overnight and is holding in there. You know what? Honestly, I would rather it do this. I would rather it do this than have like a gap and go in sympathy from the earnings yesterday, only to report its own earnings tonight. I actually think that this is better that it moved down early in the day.
I don't like that 5-minute chart.
Yeah, this does look like bear flaggy on this 5-minute. I agree with you there. I just think that this is still better than a massive run into earnings.
Yeah, I think I could see this under 240. There's a lot of there could be some support down there. We're coming down to a demand zone, but I could see it losing 240. Maybe it recaptures it quickly, but if we do continue lower, that's where I think we're going. So watching that NTNX, I want to see if we get this move through VWAP or not. We're going to need to see some better volume, though, like I was mentioning earlier.
A number of folks talking about now, which is straight up out of the open. Anne Marie reminding us 140 is your resistance here on now, NOW. Congrats to anyone that's been on this for a bit. It's been a good one.
Well, what's good?
Anne Marie, you flagged that synthetic NVIDIA short for September 4 expiry. Interesting. That feels like a regression back to the mean. All right, we've just got a couple of minutes left here. Where did that go? Sorry about the dead air here, folks.
It's just market seems like it's kind of holding its breath at the moment. Just some things are getting weaker. Some things look like they're about to push higher.
The SPY, for example, that is at the highs here now. S&P futures also putting in a pretty nice candle here. Good call, Nikhil. This is at the highs.
Fed's hammock says most recent inflation number was expected. Now is the time to act given persistence of inflation. I don't know that we'll see anything actionable until November. Do not know that we will see that. Or we've just waiting to see if we're going to get that move up or not. What else? Is WNW finally going to give us that? We did have an attempt to move through the VWAP. We're here at it again. See some sellers in the way, and given the volume, I don't know that we could push through those sellers at 370 and 380. I think that's why we got that rejection earlier when we were over VWAP. We need to see some much better volume in this one if we're going to go higher.
SPY higher, but RSP red. Jay, doesn't that tell us that the AI trade is kind of carrying the water today?
Kind of sounds like NVIDIA is carrying the water.
NVIDIA still, there's just so much action on NVIDIA here today.
Intel and TSM going up now.
I can take a look at that here real quick. We got we're almost out of time here, so Intel will probably be the last stock that we take a look at here.
All right. I said drop and then rock after we hit the 88.50 area. Coming up to some more supply from last week. Let me look at a longer term time.
Yeah, this looks like a really decent hold here for NVIDIA. I would really love to get this back above 105 to feel pretty good about it.
That's Intel.
Yeah, isn't that what you... Oh,
no, you said NVIDIA.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
reading G-Man's comment. He said INTC and TSM. I'm sorry, folks. Ross, take care of yourself. Would love to hear a little bit more about that. Shoot me an email if you have a chance. And 13, we're out of time here. You got any closing words for the group?
Yeah, real quick with Intel. If it moves up to the 20-day SMA, that could be the next resistance area, but that's where we're headed towards. But hey, folks, we got our NVIDIA print. Let's see what the rest of the week gives us. Might be another, well, it might be a little bit better a day than we've been having earlier in the week, but I would certainly hope for more than 30 million shares traded in the SPY. That would be a change over the past few days. But anyway, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
All right, 13, really good stuff here today. Marvell tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll finish the week off strong. Enjoy the football. Folks, we're out of time here for today. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll be back here again tomorrow. We will be having Mark Petrino, and we will also be having Anne-Marie. So be sure to smash up the like. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.